Don't ring that bell. Make the slightest move or sound, and I'll blow your brains out.
Why did you have me killed?
I am Dracula's daughter. I am the spine breaker. You'll suffer for this. You must understand that once my mind is made up, you will not change it. I thought you were dead. I know you did. That's why I'm here. Let me go!
Oh, if you're going to do anything, get it over with. Go on, do it.
Mysterious figures slip silently from shadow to shadow.
What are you going to do to it? It's a lie, a lie. I tell you, I didn't do it. Keep away!
He's come back. You are about to watch the whole process. A new experiment, and you will be the subject of it. Keep away from me, I tell you, or I'll punch you. You called me a cheat and a charlatan. Something in this house.
This is an authentic little replica itself.
You'll never know how happy it makes me to leave one of my dolls in your beautiful home.
Of the voodoo drum.
You can't kill me again.
Please don't come any closer.
Sensational statement by the prefect of police today. It was admitted that Paul Levon, former bank president, convicted of looting his own bank and killing a watchman, escaped from prison 4 months ago.
Yes, y'all, it's going down right now. Episode 262 of the Triple Shots of Moodz and Horror podcast is coming at you live and direct with my hetero life mate, JP, also known as the Mexicans. We got the pretentious Mr. Saucedo, also known as Tyler. And back in the house for the very first time, we have Tony, the Shiner Hartman, and I be your host, Moodz. Yeah. What's going on, dudes?
Yo.
Yeah, I just realized, like, right before we got on here that, Tony, this is your first time on the show, right?
Yeah, officially.
Oh, shit. I didn't even realize that.
I
didn't realize that either.
Yeah, I never thought.
He didn't even realize it.
I never thought of it because we record the Sin Bin show, and I never put it together that it was your first time on this show because we usually do the 5 questions and stuff like that, and I was like, shit. But I got nothing prepared. But I mean, we'll
save them for next time on a regular show.
Yeah, maybe we'll just do that for next time. But
yeah, I'll find an episode to jump on.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. So this is going to be season whatever 12. what year? I don't know.
We started in 2013 towards the tail end of it.
So basically 10 years. So we'll just say season 10 over. This is going to be the finale. This is kind of what we do now is like end it with like a top 10 kind of thing. And then
start it with the top 10.
And then start it with the top 10. They seem to be the more popular shows. I can't imagine this one being like the best viewed show ever. Especially if you look up what you
listen, dude. I remember what'd you say?
I said, well, especially if you look up on IMDb, like, the films from 36, people are gonna be like, I don't want to fucking watch any of this shit.
Dude, when we got 41 last time, I was like, man, this year's not that good. But like in hindsight, 41 was a banger.
I was thinking the same thing. Like, man, 41 really had it going on compared to this year.
I didn't think 36 was that bad.
Oh my God.
Okay, so right away, how many films did you guys end up watching from 36?
20.
You watched 20, Tyler? Holy shit. Well, that's
I watched all the shorts too.
Oh, okay. JP, what did you end up watching?
I ended up ending at 18 if I count Shadow of Chinatown as 2 films.
Why would you count it as
4-hour
2?
one?
Did you watch?
Because I watched both versions.
No,
You watched
didn't.
the 4-hour version?
Yeah.
No,
Yeah,
Get out, bro.
You do
did not
realize-
fucking watch that shit.
I did.
you do realize that you don't get that time back ever again, right?
Right. Yeah, I spent
Yeah.
like 5 hours watching Shadow of Chinatown.
Oh my
I
god,
can't believe
70-minute one was enough for me.
Tony, what'd you end up
Yeah,
watching?
that was straight torture. Well, if we count the 1935 movie I watched, then I would have 21.
Damn.
Yeah,
I didn't watch
So maybe
short stuff,
Tyler and I
so-
watched all the same shit.
So how many shorts did you get? Like how many feature length films did you watch?
Let me look at my list.
Because like there isn't really that many. Like
No, there's not that many.
I had a list of 15 to watch. Actually, technically, I had a list of 16 to watch. I couldn't find one with subtitles. I didn't end up rewatching The Invisible Ray because,
yeah.
oddly enough, the year changed from 36 to 35. And we just reviewed that on this podcast. And I went back and listened to my intro, and it was like, yeah, from 1936, The Invisible Ray. JP did a back check on it too, and I guess it changed in like
Yeah,
February,
you could
so
use the Wayback Machine and screenshots of
so
IMDb from a year ago, and it was 36.
Yeah, I know it was. And so anyways, that was one I didn't end up rewatching. There was a couple others that I was thinking about, like Sabotage, and I've seen Sabotage a couple times, so I didn't rewatch that. So I ended up only watching 14 because I didn't watch any shorts. That was 14 feature length films.
So I watched 18 with no shorts. So
I watched
fuck you.
I watched
more.
14 feature lengths.
Yeah, so mine would have been 16 was the actual thing. But yeah, like I said, I couldn't find one with the subtitles, which really pissed me off because I heard it's pretty decent. And of course, The Invisible Ray. But yeah,
Which one was that?
The Golem.
Okay. Yeah, I couldn't get that one either. I had 15.
I searched everywhere for it. I kept finding decent copies with like no subtitles. I'm like, well, fuck, I can't watch this shit, man. So
there's actually a movie from 1936 called The Golem on YouTube that is dubbed in English, but it is not the same film.
no, I know. Yeah, and I know that was kind of problematic.
I don't understand what film it is, though.
Yeah.
I just missed that one. I thought I pretty much caught everything too. Probably the notable stuff I didn't watch. I didn't watch The Invisible Ray because we caught it before I watched it. And there was one that Tony watched. I don't remember if I even counted for 36 or not. But
The Macabre Trunk.
Yeah, he said it was awful. So I was like, all right.
Oh, that was one. I actually, sorry, I had that one on a list to watch too. And then Tony said it was so bad, and I was like, if Tony's saying it's that bad, I can't bring myself to watch this.
So, like, let me just jump in real quick. It's not that bad. Like, it's almost like an Eyes Without a Face type movie.
Yeah.
But the problem is, like, I watched it with YouTube auto translated caption. So that was brutal. Looked like shit. And since it's 36, like almost nothing happens.
That's the problem with a lot of these is like I feel like the ones that just have better restorations like hold up the best. A lot of these that just look like shit, and these movies are already like very like dialogue heavy and like
it is interesting, right? Like my thoughts on 36 is like it's such a weird year. There's not that many movies. Like maybe apparently there's at least like 18 features. 18 GP, that's crazy.
Yeah.
So Tyler, how many feature lengths did you end up watching?
14 features.
It was 14 features. And then Tony, how many?
15.
50. Okay. So so like we're in that realm, like 15 to 18 kind of films and stuff. And it's crazy. Like almost all these movies are like an hour to like 75 minutes. Like
for Shadow of Chinatown.
They're all, except for that. But then you watch the whole serial, which is crazy to me,
It actually flows a little bit better as a serial.
Well,
because it's in chapters.
Well, to be honest,
and the editing is so bad in the short version.
There's bad editing in like a lot of
Shadow of Chinatown. The short version is so fucking messy. It's just like it's so choppy and
I had no idea what I watched.
Dude, it didn't make a lick of fucking sense because there's so much that's cut out of it. And it keeps jumping around, and it's like, oh my god, dude, I was like dying watching this thing, man. And it was only like an hour long too.
Dude, like between that and like the mediocre quality and just like the audio is like not great on some of these movies. It's just like, what is even fucking happening in this movie?
Yeah. Like honestly,
a lot of these movies do not have good transfers or like releases.
No.
In fact, I think I only had one Blu-ray out of all these movies, I think.
I watched 2 physical copies, which was The Devil Doll and Dracula's Daughter, of course. That always looks good. But
I didn't watch anything physical.
But everything else was on YouTube. I know The Walking Dead has a DVD. I don't know what the DVD looks like, if it or anything, but a lot of these things don't have good releases at all. So yeah, it was pretty much YouTube for the majority of these films, and the transfers are what you would expect from 1936. They're very loud. You know what I mean? A lot of static.
Yeah.
And it was crazy watching The Devil Doll because that transfer is fucking amazing, man.
Yeah, that movie looked incredible.
There was
incredible, dude. It was crystal clear. I couldn't believe when
there were like two movies with great transfers, a couple okay, and half of them were like atrocious.
Yeah, some are really bad. Like, and just like really, really loud. Like Revolt of the Zombies, which I believe is public domain, so it has everything shitty about it.
Dude, I fell asleep like 6 times during that movie.
That was so boring. Oh my god!
Of the Zombies. I've seen it before, and that movie is fucking terrible, man. I think this might have been the worst. I've seen it years ago.
That was the first movie I watched. Was like, oh Jesus.
Let me ask you guys something. Did you guys watch the Love Wonka or Wanka or whatever?
I watched that.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. I watched that one.
I did not get to that one.
That was really, JP. You watched 18 and watched that one. Oh, that was a tough watch. That was a tough watch, man.
Yeah, the movie's very messy too. Like it kind of like had a hard time following the plot.
Terrible. Well, that's another theme with 36. Like these movies are so short, but they're hard to follow because the narratives are just like they jump into the narrative right away, and it kind of like. The filmmakers like expect the audience already knows what's going on. You ever notice that with a lot of these films from this era? Like the narratives are so condensed. It's like it just kind of starts where there should have been a bunch of narrative build up to like where you're at the beginning. And I feel like if you look away for 2 seconds, you're like, I have no idea what's going on. This movie's like 45 minutes long, and I'm fucking
There's
lost.
a lot of dialogue in like all these movies. There's not much atmospheric or like visual.
No,
like,
literally nothing happens in most of these movies.
Yeah, like I was like thinking, like I was like seeing your ratings too, so I felt a little better. Like, okay, I'm not the only one that just thinks these are all bad.
And they're just, another thing about that, like there's only one big budgeted movie from this whole year, and I mean there's another, like The Devil Doll probably had a decent budget for what they did and the effects and stuff, but like Dracula's Daughter, I was reading into it, and it's like that movie was one of the highest budgeted Universal films of the 30s. It was like the third highest budgeted film from the whole decade. I was like, what the fuck?
What?
I'm like, I could not fucking believe it. I'm like thinking to myself, some of these other movies like The Walking Dead and The Man Who Changed His Mind, aka The Man Who Lived Again, like these are really, really low budget films. I'm like, wow, dude. Like, what did they spend on those things, man? Like,
one thing that this year did make me appreciate though is like Universal.
Yeah.
Because just because there weren't Dracula's Daughter, you know what I mean?
That was it.
It was a slow year, man.
If you don't count The Invisible Ray.
Yeah.
Right. So when you think about like, this era, the 30s, like if anything, it makes you appreciate like Universal as a studio for having like competently made movies.
Yeah.
And it kind of it was a really eye-opening year because I was just like, and I will say it did get better for me towards the end half because I did save a lot of the better movies like on paper towards the end. But the start was so brutal, and for the most part, like just in general, like my ratings are pretty low.
Yeah, there's a common theme, like I mean. It was decent to watch like 4 Karloff films this year. Like there was Juggernaut, and then there was what else was he in? The Walking Dead, The Man Who Changed His Mind, and of course Invisible Ray. I guess there's not technically 4. Fuck, I keep thinking it's part of 36. But anyways,
but you also got the homie Todd Slaughter.
Todd Slaughter did 2 films, which actually those movies just got really, really nice releases from Indicator. There's a Todd Slaughter box set actually, which I knew about and completely forgot. And I was searching these and I'm like, oh my God, I was going to pick up that box set months ago. Never did. But the Demon Barter Fleet Street, and of course, The Crimes of Stephen Hawke would be in that box set. So really curious to see what those transfers look like, because the YouTube versions that I watched were YouTube versions. You know what I mean? Very loud.
Yeah, the Tubi versions are pretty brutal too.
Yeah, they're just
like
awful.
some of these films were uploaded to YouTube like 15 years.
I know. Isn't that fucking weird how long ago some of these films were uploaded and they're still on there? It's crazy.
The public domain.
I guess. I mean, I'm assuming those ones must be. But I don't think all these movies are public domain, though.
No.
I was surprised by how many were on YouTube. That was kind of nice.
It was actually nice because when we first got the year, I did a quick YouTube search, and some of these films I swear weren't even on there, or maybe I just didn't search properly. I don't know, but I ended up finding pretty much everything. But like I said, the Golem was the one that I just could not track down. So, did anybody watch The Dark Hour? Because I know that's like it's labeled as like a comedy.
No, I missed
thriller or something like that. So I just passed on it. I was like, no, I'm not fucking wasting my time. So
no, I didn't even see it anywhere. So
yeah, I just randomly came across it. I was like, that one could fit the mold, but yeah. Anyways, yeah, it's so crazy to watch. Like going back to like the time, the length of these films and stuff. It's like I can't believe how fucking short all these movies were, but ultimately they all end up feeling so damn long. It's like so weird to me, man.
Yeah.
This prep was so weird. I'm like, oh, right on. I'm like, this movie's 69 minutes long. And I'm like, after like 12 minutes, I'm like, is this thing almost over?
Yeah, it got to the point where I was like, this one's 71 minutes long. Ugh.
I know. Fuck.
Yeah, I about died when it got to a 79-minute movie.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like, in a year that doesn't really have a lot going for it, I feel like there's two movies from this year that I'm so fucking glad I discovered. Like, really glad I discovered, man.
I wonder
yeah, dude, two of them I fucking loved, man. Loved.
There's one. I wonder if me and Moodz have
I absolutely was not expecting to like one of these movies, and I actually put it off. Like, I just didn't want to watch it. And I ended up fucking loving it, man. It was weird. It was like, so trippy to me.
There was one really off the board one that was like, I was like very surprised, and I liked it.
Damn it.
I'm surprised because I don't feel that way about literally anything I watched.
Oh, really?
Right.
I think there's two I legitimately really liked.
My number one, I really, really enjoyed.
Yeah, my number one, I think it's the best movie of the year, and it's also my favorite too. I just think they did such a good job. Anyways, we'll get to that, but like,
we'll get to that. I wouldn't be surprised if we all have the same number one.
Yeah, it'd be interesting, I guess.
I would be.
Yeah. Okay. All right,
I don't think in any way I would ever have the same number one as you on any list.
We'll see.
Yeah, even in a year where there's only like 15 movies to choose from.
Yeah, even the years where there's only one to choose from.
We'll see because like the number one to me just felt like it just seemed like the best at like almost basically everything.
Interesting.
I mean, this year's so laughable to me that I only really liked my top five.
I actually like all 10 of my movies.
I mean, I can't say I do.
I think I like top six.
I don't either, man. Like, I maybe get away with my top seven. Yeah, I would say seven for sure.
I'd say six is about where I'm going to push it.
One of them I want to see with a better transfer, though. So
yeah, I could even argue down to like three. We'll see.
What? Three? Really?
No, like there's at least four, I guess. Maybe up to six. It depends like what degree of liking we're talking.
Oh,
yeah, so technically in these top tens, there might not actually be 10 good films. It's just the 10 best that we've seen, pretty much.
Yep. Yeah. That's pretty much what it comes down to. All right. Oh man. I don't know. You guys have anything else on 36? Thoughts on 36?
I think I definitely watched a couple that you guys didn't.
Oh, well, if you watched 18, I only watched 14, so.
Yeah, I thought I covered like all bases.
Yeah,
I'm surprised. I'm curious to see what you watch because like,
I consider watching the Hitchcock film, but I also just like don't want to like it and tempt myself. It would
definitely be on your list, bro. You'd see the scene where the kid blows up in the bus scene and you'd be like, that's scary.
Oh yeah, I'd be like, that's horror. I didn't want to do that.
Yeah, everybody remembers that's the one scene that you always remember from that.
Yeah. I don't want to do that to myself this time, so I just didn't watch it.
All right.
But yeah, just to echo some of the stuff that JP had said earlier, yeah, it really made me appreciate like the Universal monster movies to the point when I was watching these, like I had in my mind that those must have started in the late 30s. And then I checked Frankenstein for some reason. I was like, whoa, this movie came out in 31, and I was like shocked that that there wasn't more like movies like that like 4 years later. It really does like shine a light on how good those movies are compared to like their contemporaries.
Yeah.
It felt like too like what really like that's why I'm kind of like what the fuck is 1936's problem, because there's a lot of like decent like notable like gothic horror movies before that, and there was just like not a lot of that at all this year.
Yeah, there's literally nothing.
No, there's like someone mentioned like the lack of atmosphere. Yeah, there's lack of atmosphere, and there's even a lack of like, you know, like dark music too. Everything's like catalog,
exactly.
like playful music and shit.
When I think of like 30s outside of the Universal monster movies, I think it was, you know, like the old Dark House, like White Zombie, like these like dark, like ambient movies. There was just like none of that. Like
a lot of the movies didn't have music, period.
Yeah, and like it made it a lot worse. They just had bad sound.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's not the most enjoyable year.
It just really makes you appreciate what the good films of the era like were able to achieve and how much.
Well, there's such a big difference. Like even from like even on this list, I feel like there's a couple films that stand out, like, you know, like production wise and stuff, and everything's just kind of like everything else is just like in this muddy ball of messy films. You know what I mean? Like I don't know, everything just kind of falls way apart. I don't know, man. This is such a fucking weird year to talk about, man. It's super strange. But yeah, you really do appreciate Universal films, for better for worse. You know, I mean, if you like them or not, but like the production value on the films were at least there. So
they just like they tap into like a much more captivating like type of movie.
Yeah,
and like there's way more storytelling by their visuals in that than like these movies that are very dialogue heavy, and that's like something once you really see it like stacked up against.
But it's also, I feel like it's the narratives in these movies too. You know, the reason why they're so dialogue
feel like they feel like precursors to like noirs mixed with like some maybe like sci-fi-ish or like dark crime theme. That's what it seemed like a common theme for a lot of this. It was like sci-fi or like a dark like murder or something.
Well, I mean, this era, like we talked about this before on the show and stuff, like this era has a lot of like mad scientist stuff. Like there's a few films from this year that was like pretty much just different takes on mad scientist works and shit like that and stuff, right? So
for the most part, I'll welcome the mad scientist movies.
I like the mad scientist stuff. Like I've always been a big fan of that type of stuff. Like
I just wish we got like some ghost movies or like.
Yeah, there's literally almost nothing supernatural this year.
Yeah, like there's no like ghost movies, there's no like monster movie.
Yeah, there's one film with like I mean, not really, I guess supernatural, but I mean, I guess in a sense, but
there are like supernatural leanings in some of these, like sure, but there's no like haunted house movie, like there's no old dark house, like, there's no like I don't even know, like from like 41, like the incredible like man, I don't forgot what it was called, but there's no like monster movie either. It's just like it's got a lot of the same like kind of like ranges. Yeah, you have like the one Dracula's movie, but like there's like it felt like there was a lot more in 41, and there was just like a lot more of that in this era we just kind of miss out on in 36.
Yep, it's like zombies, whodunits, and mad scientists is what we got.
Pretty much, and it's like the old school zombies too. It's like the voodoo zombies in the sense, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like they're not like what we know as like a modern zombie, like rising from the grave and shit. Should probably note that for the people that are kind of unfamiliar with old school, you know, the term zombie meant something a little bit different. So
yeah, it wasn't until George Romero came around.
Yeah, that's literally the modern
zombie. The definition.
Yeah. Okay. So should we just get into these top 10s?
Yeah.
All right.
Let's bang it.
All right, so yeah, that's going to conclude the short-lived intro, which I guess is pretty explainable. Not really a whole lot to say about the films of 1936, but yeah, we'll get into these top 10s right now.
Yo, who this?
Yo, Moodz, it's your boy, the ill-mannered funky child, calling you to remind you that the featured reviews on this episode contain spoilers.
Aw, yeah, man, that's right, brother. Thanks for the heads up, playa. Now go back to being an unproductive asshole.
Fuck you. I tell your listeners to stop being so dumb, silly, sensitive.
Yeah.
And now, our feature presentation. All right, so getting into the top 10 of 1936. Before the show, we predetermined the order, and it is going to be Tyler, me, JP, and then Tony doing the anchoring. So, Tyler, you want to start us off with your number 10?
All right. Number 10, setting the bar not too high here. This one, I'm going to call the winner of the mediocrity on my list. Because I don't think this movie is good, but it's just the 10th best one, and it's like I think it's definitely the worst movie on my list. That's Sweeney Todd, the Demon Barber of Fleet Street.
Wow.
Yeah. I didn't think this movie was very good. I thought this movie was really messy, and it wasn't very, despite like everything you know about Sweeney Todd, this movie just like, it was so upbeat. It was kind of weird, and it made Sweeney, maybe I'm not familiar with the true like story of Sweeney Todd, but he was more of just like a criminal in this one. He wasn't like, he didn't have this like enraged, like hateful, like backstory. And it's just like it doesn't have like any of like the gothic and like horror like that I like associate with Sweeney Todd. But this movie was watchable. It was more just like a crime movie. He's a little contraption where he like killed people with the chairs. It always gave me a laugh because like it made a ridiculous screen every time. And he was more like just like killing, like there's no violence, like real violence or anything as you see in this, but it's more they're just like killing these people and robbing them with like as little violence as possible. The story's like really weird where it goes all over the place to the point you're also in the jungle at one point.
It's a story that's being told by somebody too, right? Because it's like, yeah, and like it's set in the present day, but like weird. The story's from back in the day, and they're telling the story of the Demon Barber.
Yeah, it's like a fairy tale. It goes all over the place, and it's kind of like messy. I just didn't enjoy it very much, but it's watchable. Like I was able to be like, okay, well that's what happened in this. There seems to be an issue in these like this year in general where like the movies don't really have down endings for the most part. And every movie like finds a way, even if it's down to the last minute to like say everybody lived happily ever after. The movie also kind of has like a problem like that. And it just like it was just really soft to me, but
it's probably like
there was.
I just feel like a lot of these movies lack in like tension in the third act. Like all of a sudden the movie's like you look at the runtime and they're like
tension in these movies.
There's like 8 minutes left and you're like, oh, I guess we're into the end of the third act. Like that's like how
they're like a lot of these are like they really toe the line with horror with I think a lot of these are really just like crime movies with like not a lot of tension. And I guess like this one just had like the most things about it that like made me laugh or like made me smile. But it's definitely not something I'd recommend under other circumstances unless you're like a Sweeney Todd completionist. But yeah, that'll be my number 10. George King, Sweeney Todd, the Demon Barber of Fleet Street.
What do you rate that?
5 out of 10.
Starting at 5s.
I think is that the first time we've ever started at 5s?
Oh yeah, I think so.
No, I think we did for 41 too. I'm pretty sure we did for 5 out of 5.
I didn't.
No, I didn't. I don't think I started at 5s. All right, so coming in number 10 for myself is a film called The Rogue's Tavern. I'm assuming everybody watched this one.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, it's one of these storylines where we've seen like a million times. It's basically a gathering of a bunch of people in this hotel, and people are getting picked off basically one by one. And they need to figure out who's doing the killings. And, I think
it's a dog.
Yeah, they think it's a dog because like these people are ending up with like teeth mark and shit in there, and that whole reveal and shit like that is bizarre too. But of course, this movie has like an actual detective that's staying there, so he's doing the investigating, and he's got like his little sidekick female wannabe detective too and stuff. But this is one of those movies that plays out pretty much exactly how you would probably think it's going to play out. the reveal in this actually made me laugh out loud. Like the person that gets revealed to be doing what they're doing, the laugh that was happening, I couldn't stop laughing. It was so fucking, it was just hilarious to me how this person kept doing this. And I was like, it was overacting to the point where I was like, this is actually really enjoyable because it's so bad. Like it was ridiculous, but a very heavy dialogue film with a lot of like, almost red herrings here and there and shit. And it's honestly kind of annoying, to be honest. Like it's a quick watch. I think it only runs about 69 minutes, but it's just A to B. There's no tension in the film. The music is terrible. The characters are super annoying. It's not like horrible by anything. Like I said, there's a couple reveals in the film that are, worthy of a chuckle. I thought the whole weapon thing was bizarre. The reveal was bizarre. I don't know. It's one of these movies where I feel like if you're going to have this kind of investigative angle, detective angle, mystery angle, like these are hard to pull off, man. You need characters that are interesting, you need dialogue that's interesting, and this one just doesn't have that. It's such an average type movie to me, and it's super forgettable. Really, really forgettable. So I don't really have much to say about the Rogues Tavern, but like I said, it's on the list by default because some of the other films I watched were really fucking bad. Like we're less than the 5 out of 10 that I'm giving this one. So I did have like 4 films that I watched that were rated under 5. So this one kind of makes its way onto the list because it was the best of the worst. If that makes sense.
Mediocrity award.
It really is. It's majorly. I honestly just found this one a little bit tedious. Like it was just bugging me the whole time. And I was like, it's not horrible, but like I can see some people getting a little bit of enjoyment out of it, but it's the whole mystery angle. But it's, I won't lie. I pretty much predicted who was behind the whole thing, but anyways, it is what it is. The Rogues Tavern, 5 out of 10, number 10.
All right. Coming in with the Rogues Tavern at number 10 here. So me and Moodz doubling up on that. I pretty much agree with everything that Moodz said. I thought the dog plot line was so ridiculous that like I couldn't even believe they went with that, because like you're gonna know if someone was attacked by a dog. Like you can't really fake that.
No.
I thought that, I like the whole like whodunit murder mystery party, like, which is like kind of what this feels like, like Agatha Christie type thing. But this one was just like as simple and as basic. And honestly, like, I'm actually surprised that they went with this script, just because like the murder mysteries like genre in books and movies has been around forever. So like, it's even by this point, like it has been, done. So usually you would expect a little better by this point, but I mean, I liked it enough. It was actually the first movie I watched for this prep, so it's a little rough in my memory, but I remember it being a little silly with the whole plot line and the reveal and everything. But
what was silly was the detective's like girlfriend or sidekick or whatever. Like she would always pipe in and be like, "Hey, I've got to," like, she keep coming up with these things. "I got to beat on this. I think this person's doing that." Like,
Jinky's a clue.
Yeah, like it was so cool.
That was almost like a running theme throughout some of the movies in this year. Like you had like the guy cop and his little like witty female sidekick, like amateur sleuth.
Right.
She would always like figure shit out, and he'd always be like, "Not now, get out of my face. I'm trying to figure this shit out."
Yeah.
Bang on. But I gave this one I did give it a 6 out of 10, but I'll give it a 5.5 out of 10.
Starting with 5.5s. All right, Tony.
Okay, let's see where I'm at. So number 10 for me. All right, this comes from Paramount Pictures, and it is Wonga, or The Love Wonga.
I didn't even see this one.
The winner of my mediocrity award. So this one stars Freddie Washington, who is a black plantation owner who is in love with her neighbor, who also owns a plantation but is white. But he doesn't love her because she's black, and he wants to marry a white woman. So clearly our black plantation owner uses voodoo to basically get her revenge and make zombies and get the white guy to be her man. And honestly, this movie is pretty uneventful. Like the zombie scenes in this movie, like they're okay. Like the scene where they're digging up the zombies out of the coffin is pretty atmospheric and is honestly probably the best scene in the entire movie.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
But beyond that, it's pretty much just a movie about like a romantic love triangle, and it's more about like the racial divide between the blacks and the whites more so than anything.
And you know what? I found this movie to be super offensive, man. Like I'm like in terms of just the dialogue, like you have this black woman that very much like in real life, she's very light skinned. I don't know if you actually know who the actress is. Like she did a bunch of stuff back in the day and stuff, and she was very beautiful. And it was very unusual too. We should actually note that it was very unusual for, a black woman to be in a lead in a film, even in like a lower budget for this time. It was very, very rare. And she was always looked upon as like, she had a rough career because of that and stuff. But anyways, like she's super light skinned and stuff, but it was some of the dialogue in the film I was cringing at. I was like, oh my God, there's a point in this film where she literally fucking begs this white dude to take her. And she says this. She fucking says this. She goes, I will be your slave. And I was like, I actually rewound it and I said, you did not just say, I will be your slave. This is 1936, dude. This isn't far removed from, the slaves being freed. Like I was like, God damn, dude, that's fucking brutal to hear, man. Like she's
oh yeah, for sure.
She's
and not only that,
on her fucking knees begging him to take her, but he doesn't want the black, he wants the white. Like I'm like, oh my God, this is so hard to watch.
This movie's making me uncomfortable.
It was, dude. I was absolutely taken back by some of the dialogue. I was taken back by some of the dialogue in this, even for like 36. Like it's sensitive shit. Like this is almost 100 years later, and it's still like, dude, that's fucking brutal, man. I thought that was brutal.
It goes beyond that too. Like pretty much like every black cast member is like either a servant or some sort of like voodoo tribes member. Right. And when they do talk, they have to talk in the fucking like Uncle Remus, like, oh, my servant or my master, blah, blah, blah type shit.
Yeah, because they were just like these cartoon characters. Right. That's how black people were portrayed in these films back in the day. Like those are like really the only roles that they ever got were like, either slave roles or, servants and shit like that. But they would make them do these ridiculous accents and stuff. It's just fucking like you watch it now and you're just like, oh my God, it's so painful.
Real fucked up.
But I could not believe when she said, I'll be your slave. I was like, you got to be fucking kidding me, man. Like it was just
there's a lot of just like really goofy scenes in this too.
I was so uncomfortable watching this movie the whole time, and it was like there was a couple this movie probably had one of the better like horror atmospheric scenes, like the zombies and stuff, but like but it was really hard for me to watch, dude. I was getting like, I usually don't get offended by shit, but I'm like, that is like really kind of offensive. Like it was bad, man.
Yeah, there's a reason why this is like a studio movie that no one talks about. It's like a lot of like the racial like stereotypes and shit, like something like this kind of reminds me of like that Disney movie Song of the South. Yeah. Where it's just like some of these are just pretty much better off being forgotten about, especially if they're not good.
And it sucks too, because like she was a pretty decent actress and stuff. Like, it just sucks the dialogue that she had to say. And she's very beautiful, man. Yeah. And I mean, obviously she got these leading roles too because of her skin being so light. But she actually was black though. She just had really, really fair skin, in which, we know the history of that too. Like even light skinned black people were the butt end of a joke in their neighborhoods and stuff like that, right? You're not even black enough to be black. You're light skinned, and it was always a joke and stuff. So, but I mean, Hollywood saw that, and they could portray, especially in a black and white film too. Like if she was playing a white person, they probably could pull it off because you wouldn't really know. Right.
It was interesting too, because her like character kind of leaned into the fact that she was like a light skinned black person, because she kind of had disdain for both the whites and the blacks in this movie.
Yeah.
Honestly, she's pretty much just like a tragic, like misunderstood loner character.
Yeah, and she's looking for a place in her life and stuff, but I can't imagine being black and begging a white person to accept them and take them in when he's a plantation owner and what that represented back in the day. You know,
he must have been great in the sack.
Like, it's just so beyond fuck to me, man. Like, I'm just like,
there's something good about this guy that made her fucking beg.
I know, right? Like, but
this guy's a piece of shit. He's like, I don't want to marry you. You're fucking black.
He literally
she's
says,
like begging him.
Yeah, like straight up, like, no, you're black. Like, I'm like, oh my god, this is fucking unreal. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so it goes in the regular beats that the movie would go. Voodoo happens. Oh yeah, there's a subplot where the white guy she loves, his black underling, who's played by a white guy, is in love with her.
Yep.
So he's trying to sabotage her while she's trying to sabotage this marriage from happening. And that's funny because the guy who played like the black servant was actually Sheldon Leonard, who was like a producer of like the Dick Van Dyke Show and shit.
Really? Fuck.
So I bet this is a movie he didn't fucking want to remember anytime soon before he died.
Just fucking bury it. Just fucking bury it. Oh, man.
But yeah, like as with a lot of the 36 movies, you kind of side with the villain. And then when these movies end, you're not really feeling good about what you just watched.
Yeah.
But the Law of Wonga, it was okay. I give it a 5.
All right. Tyler.
All right. So we're going to get a little bump in quality here. This is my number 8.
Shadow of Chinatown.
It is the Cobweb Hotel. The Cobweb Hotel, it's an 8-minute short. It's pretty goofy. It's about a spider who runs a hotel for flies where he keeps the guests captive. And a pair of newlyweds arrive. They check in, and unfortunately,
did you say newlyweds?
Newlywed. Oh, I should have. Fortunately, so they're trapped, and unfortunately, the husband's a boxer. So he has a little battle with the spider to fight their way out, basically, and he's got some cool shit like arrows. He's got guns, and it's just like it's a really. It goes by really quick, and it's like it's colorful, and it's like it's exciting for what it is. Like,
it's colorized.
Quick 8. Yeah, this one's colorized.
Oh, crazy.
It was like it was definitely my favorite animation, but it's just like it's just a thing you see once. You're like, okay, that was that, and you like never really care to watch it again. This is something that like maybe like you would have seen like in front of a kids movie in a theater. Like sometimes I remember when I was younger, they play a little short film before the animated feature, but it was all right. It was for a quick little watch. It's only 8 minutes long. It's just kind of a historical thing, but it's not great. I probably like it better more than some movies further down on the list, but I'm also gonna like scale it as a short. So I'll probably have movies rated lower than this, but I don't want to put a short above them of this quality at least. So I'll give this one a 6.
I liked it too.
I didn't watch any shorts, so
honestly, like all the animated shorts that came out this year are a lot of fun.
Yeah, I probably would have liked them. They just for me, I don't like to put shorts on a list. I like to put the features, but that's just the way I do my list. So. But yeah, no, it sounds decent though. Pretty interesting. All right, so coming in at number 9 for myself is a film called A Face in the Fog.
The Fiend.
So basically, there is this person who's nicknamed or dubbed the Fiend, and he's basically going around killing people. But the cool thing about this movie, though, which I think is the coolest aspect of it, is how he's killing people. He basically is using like frozen bullets. So
yeah, I forgot about that.
So it's so crazy how we're
JF
watching
Kennedy
another frozen
strategy.
bullet movie after watching it in Black Widow a few months ago.
Right. And like, yeah,
the two frozen bullet movies.
Really interesting idea from like 1936. It's pretty unique, actually. I mean, But I like the whole idea. Like, you kill somebody with a frozen bullet, it melts and it doesn't leave a mark and it doesn't have any trace. And I think it's pretty cool. But I just don't understand. So basically, this person's going around. I think it's like taking place in like a theater or something like that. And we got a couple like news reporters that are investigating this story. It's a big scoop and stuff like that. So they're trying to figure out who this killer is and stuff like that. And it's like, it's like a hunchback too. He's like a hunchback killer.
Yeah.
And but it's a murder mystery movie. It's exactly what the Rogues Tavern is, just different kind of setting and stuff like that. This one was a little bit more enjoyable than the Rogues Tavern for myself. The dialogue wasn't as cringy and stuff. I mean, this one kind of makes the list because I like the idea of the frozen bullet and stuff like that. I mean, it plays out exactly how you think it would. There's not really any great atmosphere to the film, which kind of sucks.
Right at the beginning, there's some with like the fog and stuff.
Yeah, a little bit, but like the whole thing kind of plays out like how you think you would, and it's just A to B. You know what I mean? Like, there's not really anything that extravagant about it. I mean, the transfer that I watched on this was not the greatest. I think this one was really fucking loud. We probably all watched the same one. But yeah,
I remember the transfer being really bad.
Yeah, it was really poppy, really loud, really staticky. Kind of hard to see things at times and shit like that. But I mean, I like the idea of the movie. It's really not a lot different than the Rogues Tavern in terms of murder mystery kind of thing. But it has a
same director, actually.
Is it really? I didn't even look.
No shit.
I didn't even look.
The same guy directed Face in the Fog, Rogues Tavern, and Shadow of Chinatown this year.
Oh, God.
Damn,
Robert
dude.
Hill.
I honestly never even looked at the directors. That's crazy.
Yeah, I didn't really either. Except for Todd Browning.
Yeah, more of like, okay, what Karloff films were this year? What Bela Lugosi films were this year? Kind of thing, right? Wow, that's a busy year. Crazy. But A Face in the Fog, again, it's pretty standardized stuff. It's not horrible. I'm giving it a 5 out of 10 though.
All right.
JP.
My number 9 is The Crimes of Stephen Hawke, which is one of the Todd Slaughter films.
Mm-hmm.
This one's weird because it opens up with like an interview with Todd Slaughter, which is just weird.
It is so fucking strange, man.
Yeah.
I hated that shit.
Yeah, but this one, Slaughter plays I guess he's like a bank guy, and then he also is a serial killer known as the Spine Breaker. And I give this one like mad props because there's a very big lack of kills in 1936, but this one has like the best kill, which he breaks the spine of a little boy.
Yeah,
it's right at the beginning of the movie.
Too bad they didn't show that. I know. It's definitely the most shocking moment of the whole year, besides the dialogue in the Wanga movie.
Yeah,
but
I was like, okay, Spine Breaker. But like Todd Slaughter, it's funny because he plays like such an asshole, like bank guy. And I'm like, this guy. Wouldn't people suspect this motherfucker might be the Spine Breaker because he's a bit of a dick. But he has a daughter. I don't think it's his real daughter. I think that's a plot point. But he basically is trying to kill the people that are trying to woo her. And he kind of gets exposed a little bit. I felt like the movie started off like much stronger, and then like the third act was just kind of boring. But I enjoy Todd Slaughter. I think he's pretty fun. So I gave this one a 6 out of 10.
Bumping up to a 6.
That's pretty early.
Wow. Damn, dude.
Mm-hmm.
JP with the generous ratings. Nuts. All right. Tony.
All right. Number 9. From Academy Pictures, we have Revolt of the Zombies.
Oh,
God.
Directed by Vince Halperin, who directed the original White Zombie. And this is apparently like a pseudo sequel.
Huh.
But it has like literally nothing to do with it besides the fact that there's zombies in this movie.
Yeah. And I fell asleep a bunch.
Yeah,
the idea of this movie is cool. I like the general idea of the movie, but yeah.
Yeah, this movie's pretty fucking boring. It's It's a riveting tale about scientists who search for the secret of mind control that like ancient civilizations used to like create like slaves and all this other type of shit. But then one scientist gets it and he uses it against a couple who used him to get together, basically. So more so than a zombie movie, this is another like love triangle situation, just like that Wonga movie. So basically, this guy is like a jilted lover because he was in love with the expedition leader's daughter, who is actually in love with his best friend. But they loved each other, but they basically used him to get together. It's kind of fucked up.
Oh,
so one day,
so boring.
Exactly. Like even this review is boring. So he like actually finds
a
the
lot
secret
of these
himself.
movies, there's nothing to say about them.
Right.
This movie, like oh my God, I hadn't seen it in years, and I was like, this is why. It is like coma inducing, and it has this great idea too, but it almost is like this precursor to like Hitler, wanting to create like the perfect super soldier and stuff like that. It's kind of like the vibes I get on this. It's interesting.
Yeah, it's kind of fucked up. It does have like some weird like
it does have
totalitarian like crazy shit. But yeah, like our guy, he finds the secret. He secretly goes and finds the secret, and then he starts building his zombie army to get back at the two people that broke his heart, basically. And so the reason why I put this over Wonga is because it did have more zombie action than the last movie. So just for that alone, I'll give it a pass. Like in terms of being shot, like you had nice little like jungle locations in here in the last one. I think this one was shot in Cambodia. And there was other like a couple cool set pieces of the lead guys searching through like a temple and shit. So the production value is a little bit higher than the last one, but it's almost like exactly the same movie. Like the guy starts using his zombie magic and then it just blows up in their face in the end of the movie. And that's basically all I have to say about it. What did you guys think?
I fell asleep a bunch.
It's
I don't
coma
remember.
inducing. Dude, this movie is so hard to get, and it's like an hour long. It's fucking brutal.
Yeah, this one's in like my bottom 20%.
What did you give this one? This one was one of the ones I rated under 4 or under 5, and along with Wanga. It's funny.
I think I gave it a 4.
I gave this one a 5 too.
Yeah, I think the idea's there, and like the execution just isn't though. But like, man, the whole fucking subplots with the triangles and shit is just so fucking like unnecessary, bro. You know what I mean?
And honestly, like this movie is fucking goofy because the guy who actually like becomes powerful turns into such a big fucking loser in the end of the movie.
Total fucking loser. Like they just like annihilated his character to the point where it's like, okay, this guy's the biggest piece of shit ever.
And he's like the biggest pussy at the same time. Like he's like literally like in charge and is about to rule the world. And then this woman's like, if blah, 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 then we could be together. And he's like, all right, I'll stop all this mind control so we could be together. And oh my God.
Oh, fuck.
Pathetic.
It's so bad, dude.
No wonder the White Zombie franchise died after this movie.
Right. Ugh. All right. So that was 5 out of 10. Back to the top. Tyler, what did you give the Cobweb Hotel?
I gave that a 6, actually.
Okay. Sounds good. All right. You're number 8.
Okay. All right. So we're back into the territory of feature-length films that I didn't think were very good, but I think this is at least a little bit better than Sweeney Todd. Here's one that's already been named, and it's The Love Wonga.
What the fuck? I never thought this was going to make one list.
So, okay, this is the thing, is like, we're in territories, like, I don't think, like, any, like, these movies are actually, like, very good. But, like, we're in the territory of, like, I enjoyed the most things about this. Like, I got a kick out of, like, how, like, out of control this movie was. Like, I thought, like, some of the atmosphere was good. And, this movie and what this movie has that like basically no other movie really has this year is kind of has more of a darkish down ending. which I did like appreciate that I actually did that. And this movie was just like, it was. I kind of liked a movie like this in 1941 for the same reasons. Like, it wasn't like good, but it was like it had aged like milk, and I kind of got like a kick out of it, and I value that more than like movies I just like also like didn't like, but also like don't remember a thing about. So it's like it's not a great movie, but I think it's watchable, and I got a kick out of certain things. It gave me a couple of laughs, and I like the ending, and like the graveyard atmosphere. So I'm not much higher. I give it a 5.5.
5.5. So, were you loving the dialogue in this movie, or what?
It just I didn't have mine like subtitles wouldn't load, so you can only hear like so much with the quality of it.
Yeah,
but like you're kind of like peeking in what's like going on. It's just like, to me, it's just like it's such like a relic of the past and like so like out of control that it gives me a chuckle. Like, holy shit! Like, this was a movie that someone made.
I know, right?
It's such a weird movie too, because like how many movies in the 30s, like we already said, like started an actual black person, like
like this,
like it's actually historical significant, which is kind of shitty because the movie sucks.
Yeah,
like
it's definitely one you want to forget about.
Gave me a kick
for the wrong reasons.
Gave me a kick a couple times.
Yeah,
so it's at least it's something, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's still not very good. It's not a movie I'd ever recommend outside of like weird circumstances like this.
Yeah. Okay, 5.5.
Only if you're forced.
Oh, stepping up in the game with the 5.5. All right, so coming in at number 8 for myself, and that is The Crimes of Stephen Hawke. Of course, starring Todd Slaughter, who I think is the best thing about the film, but I actually just want to reiterate JP's sentiments on the film, because he pretty much said everything I was going to say. I think the third act is pretty fucking boring in this movie. I think that Todd Slaughter plays a great villain. The spine breaker. That's a great fucking name for a killer, for somebody that's terrorizing people and shit. And like, I don't know. I thought that was pretty cool. But yeah, it does have probably one of the best moments of 36 in it, when he breaks the spine of like a little boy. And I'm like, man, I mean, that's just like, that must have been unheard of in those days, to kill kids like that. Mm-hmm. I mean, it wasn't on screen or nothing, but you get the idea that this happened and stuff. But just the idea of killing an innocent kid like that is pretty shocking for 1936. It's pretty crazy. But yeah, I mean, not a great film. I would really like to see this movie on that Indicator box set, because Transfer wasn't the greatest, but if we've learned one thing from as many movies we watch in our lifetime, that transfers actually do make a big difference. And sometimes when you watch movies with really shitty transfers, it just kind of brings down your mentality a little bit, to the point where you're like, I can't do it. But you give something a good transfer, and it kind of elevates the status of the film. So I think this is one that might actually benefit from that. But yeah, the third act is not the greatest in this one. It does kind of, for a movie that's 69 minutes long, it feels way longer, and that's not a good thing. That's a crime, Stephen Hawke. So, I give this one also 5 out of 10.
Cool.
Got really nothing else to say on it. I mean, there's not really anything else to say, except for the narrative it is what it is. I mean, the killings, like the whole narrative in the movie is weird in itself.
The intro is really weird.
A lot of these movies are just like they're just really similar. It's like the same, just like
the intro
story. There's not a lot you can say about it.
Right. So I thought the intro was like an add-on, but it actually is there, and it goes on for like. Then that's the other weird thing. This movie is like 69 minutes long, and that beginning interview is like 8 minutes long.
Yeah,
this movie's like an
insane.
Hour. It's like an hour, and it's Todd Slaughter playing himself, talking about characters that he's killed, and like his body counts and stuff, like throughout his movies and shit. I'm like, this is weird. Like, why would you do this? It's such a strange.
I could see that being at the end of the movie,
right? It's like this weird introductory where he's like playing himself in this, like it's like a real interview. It's so bizarre. I don't even know how to take that, man. It's just a really weird thing that can't really be duplicated because it's so off kilter and oddball.
It's like Tom Cruise introducing all of his movies nowadays.
Tom Cruise has lost his mind. Like, I mean,
he's the new Todd Slaughter.
He is the new Todd Slaughter, man. Like, I mean, Tom Cruise had such a promising career. He did Cocktails, and I was like, bro, you're on it, man. That's a fun fucking movie. And then he went
Cocktails rocks.
And then he just went and got all fucking weird and shit. So, you know, he's the modern day Todd Slaughter. Fuck. Anyways, 5 out of 10, man. It's okay for what it is. Like, again, third act just fails itself, man, big time. But it's entertaining though. I think Todd Slaughter is a great, like I said, he's a great villain, but he's a good presence on screen too. Like, he's probably one of the better presence of the year besides obviously Boris Karloff. Every time he's on screen, you know, Karloff is just like, he's cool. But Todd Slaughter is like, you know, he's right behind him in for presence on screen and stuff. So in a year that doesn't really have a lot of presence.
No.
It doesn't, man. It really doesn't. All right, JP.
A lot of coal.
Yeah, my number 8 is a Boris Karloff film, The Man Who Changed His Mind, also known as, what was the other title?
There's a bunch of titles.
Moodz said it earlier.
We got The Man Who Changed His Mind.
The Man Who,
Who Lived Again.
The Man Who Lived Again.
The Man Who Lived Again. Yeah, I was typing. Sorry.
Then you also have
The Man Who
Dr. Maniac.
Mind,
And you also have
Man
The
Who
Brain
Changed His Mind,
Snatcher.
like, made me giggle.
Yeah, again, this is like, it's so crazy how many titles this movie has.
Yeah, it's funny because like the Man Who Changed His Mind, like, you don't think of it like literally, so you're just like, I wonder what he was gonna do, and then decided to do something else.
Right.
It made me laugh so hard. Like, that's exactly what I was thinking when I read it. And then when you watch them, we were like, oh, I wonder.
I like that title, The Man Who Changed His Mind. I think it works better than The Man Who Lived Again.
Yeah,
I like it when it's like in context with how it ends. The Man Who Changed His Mind.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So, yeah, this one, Boris Karloff plays a scientist who basically figures out a way to take people's like thoughts and memories and shit and hold them and then place them in another person. Basically, is this the one with the monkey? The monkeys at the beginning?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where he like embarrasses like his trustee or whatever.
Yeah. So you got these two monkeys, and one of them's like wild and crazy, and the other one's like a nice little homie that like gets treats out of his pocket. And proof of concept is he switches their minds, and the chill monkey becomes the asshole monkey, and the other one becomes the chill monkey. Which I thought was pretty interesting. They like take these monkeys and like strap them to a chair, which I feel like was probably not too like.
Yeah, the animal labor laws back in 1936 weren't as strict as they are in 2024.
I don't think we got a disclaimer at the end of this movie.
No, exactly. There was no monkeys harmed. Yeah, well, we didn't get that, so they were definitely harmed.
We got this surgeon, this woman surgeon who comes in and he is talking to her and stuff, and then he kind of likes her, so he swaps his body with her love interest, then jumps out of a window. That guy falls out of a window, Boris Karloff's body, but it's actually not Boris Karloff. But that was probably my favorite scene in the whole movie because it actually shows the body hit the ground.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, damn, it's like just splat.
And it wasn't a dummy death, or it wasn't a dummy either, was it? Like it was actually a stunt person.
Sound like it.
I think from what I remember, I can't quite remember now. I watched this one a couple weeks ago, and my brain is failing me right now because I'm sick. But I'm pretty sure it was like a stunt actor that just like fucking just kapooty like right on the fucking cement there.
Yeah, it looked like a real guy to me.
Yeah, it wasn't a dummy. I was like, oh shit, that's not a dummy.
I only logged one dummy death this year, and that was in Shadow of Chinatown.
Oh yeah, there is.
Right.
I think there might be a couple in there.
In the long version.
The 4-hour version.
Is it in the long version? Is there not a dummy death in the? Because
there's one dummy death in the short version.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think there is. Yeah, but yeah, this specific one, I'm pretty sure that was a stunt. Like a dude like fucking nails the ground. Like I was like, whoa, like because it's way more funny when it's a dummy. When it's an actual person, you're like, oh shit, did that hurt? Like, there's nothing funny about that, man. It's like
you're just legit concerned.
Yeah.
This one, like, you think it's gonna end like actually like downer, but like in the very last like 30 seconds, they're like, all right, let's get these bodies in here and switch them back. It felt like very like
that bums me out.
It felt like very like cartoon, like.
But it should have ended on a downer note, though.
That was like most films this year.
Feel like
at
it
the last minute.
Well, yeah, nothing ends on downer notes in the fucking 30s.
I know, but this one specifically should have, though.
Yeah.
And like the last minute, it would have been on a lot of these movies. Are like, oh
shit! Every ending to me was a downer ending.
These are the type of movies that I like from this era, like these mad scientist movies, and like they always had this idea of like, you know, shifting minds, and like it was these very simple premises, but they were kind of ahead of its time at the, you know, probably in 36. Like obviously we can't still do that shit, but I like these kind of mad scientist things, man. And Karloff plays a good scientist.
Yeah, no, I actually like this movie. So yeah, I give this one a 6 out of 10 as well.
Nice. Cool. Tony.
All right. Coming at number 8, directed by the incomparable Robert Hill, we have A Face in the Fog. So this one was okay. Like, to me, like when I'm watching these whodunits in 1936, like I'm enjoying these more than most of the movies I'm watching, just because it feels so familiar, and it's just, to me, it's a lot easier just to get through in an hour. Like a lot of these whodunits are a lot better paced than a lot of the other movies I'm watching. And this movie has a lot of goofy shit that I can like latch onto. Like I love the gimmick of the Fiend. I love the hunchback shit. I love the frozen poison bullet. I think that's really cool.
Oh yeah, it's frozen and poison.
Right. I like that the bulk of the movie takes place in one location at this hotel, and he or she are offing like these stage actors because of reasons unknown. But like in terms of storytelling, I had a decent time with it. But for me, the problem with the movie is just like it's poorly edited. The sound quality is terrible. There's no music. Like one thing that really bothered me was the Fiend's gun, like the poison, like frozen gun, like made literally no sound every time he shot.
Oh yeah, that was really weird.
So it's like that kind of bothered me, because it's like just use like a fucking blow dart or some shit at this point.
Yeah,
because like if you're shooting a gun inside of a building,
I feel like there was a few movies where the fucking guns didn't work.
Overall, the sound was like bad on a lot of these.
Yeah,
you just see the gun really pointing, and then like somebody just like it falls over,
just clutches their chest.
You know what I would love to? You know what I would love to see is like all these movies get like, you know, good Blu-ray transfers and shit, and then we rewatch all of them and then see if our ratings change.
I bet they would a little bit. I mean, that really does affect it for me.
I think I think there's like movies that never had a chance because the transfer was so shitty, and then when you had, you know, 5 or 6 movies that had good transfers, or at least decent ones, it's hard to compare.
Right.
As long as I have decent subs, I'm okay with it. Like I watch the bulk of these movies on Tubi, and they had pretty good subs with them.
I watched most of them on YouTube. Maybe that was my problem.
Yeah, I watched.
The reason I like Tubi so much is because like other streaming services like Shudder, Netflix, they're not gonna put anything that's in like 360p on their platform. But Tubi's like, I don't give a fuck. I'll put some 360p.
But yeah,
did you rate that one?
Oh no, I haven't yet. Yeah. Like one more thing I'll just say about this movie is that there's a lot of like comedic moments in this too from like some of the secondary characters, and I thought some of the comedy was okay. Like it could have been a lot better, but overall I'd give the movie a 6 out of 10. Like I liked it a lot more than I didn't, and I was pretty happy I watched it.
I can't even remember the comedic shit, man.
Yeah, I don't think it landed for you.
No, it must not have, man. I honestly, the only time I ever found myself really laughing is probably when I shouldn't have been laughing. Right? So I don't know. Probably in any of these movies.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, that's usually what happens, but I'm just glad that they weren't like straight up fucking comedies, you know, labeled as horror. You're like, fuck, I hate that shit.
I honestly wish there was more comedy in these movies.
Yeah, they try to, I mean, in a sense, right? Because they try to take themselves a little bit too serious and it just comes off a little bit corny at times. You're like,
It just boring. Like,
yeah,
there's nothing to it. That's why
I could have used the Hold That Ghost in this year.
But these movies really show their budgetary constraints because, like, you know, there's so much dialogue in these movies because they don't have the budget to do anything else with the movies.
Just like, but like you, after watching so many of these, you're like, just do something. Like,
I know. Well, that's what I'm saying.
Like kill someone or something.
For a movie that's 70 minutes long, it shouldn't fucking feel like it's 145 minutes. You know what I mean?
Like have somebody get hit by a car or something, man. Like, I just need something.
Fucking anything.
True story, man.
Would you rate that one, Tony?
6.
Yeah, 6.
All
right, Tyler, number 7.
All right, we're back to one that's already been talked about multiple times, so it's not really a whole lot you can add. And that is The Rogue's Tavern. This is kind of like in the same territory as The Love Wanga, where it's also, I don't think it's great, but it has the most that I enjoyed about it. Like the whole dog thing was pretty funny to me, and like when they showed like how they were doing it, it's just like kind of like I enjoyed the like how goofy it was and the incompetence of it. That at least leaves something memorable. It was just like it was a quick little whodunit. It was one of the less painful movies this year, but it's not a movie I'd ever recommend to someone unless you're under these weird circumstances. It's the final film of kind of the mediocrity awards, so I'm going to come in at a 5.5 on this one.
I love that movie was directed by the same guy as Face in the Fog, and both movies incorporate a killer using some sort of poison gimmick.
Yeah. I like when the old guy like in the wheelchair is explaining like how he did it, and he's like, I took this thing and I like put up to their neck, and I was like, no, shut up. It's so fucking
stupid. This guy's like falling out of his chair.
It's like at least there was some like ridiculous like humor in it. That like I'm like, well, that part was kind of goofy. I liked it. But
shit.
that makes a difference in 1936.
Okay,
100%.
What'd you rate it?
5.5.
5.5.
All
right. So coming in at number 7 is a film called The House of Secrets.
Oh my god, that one was so boring.
Yeah, man. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I mean, this one
was really boring.
This one is really boring. I won't lie, but I mean, to be honest, I mean, all these bottom films right here from like 10 to 7 could have just been in any random order.
I agree with that. I definitely could have like any given day had a different movie.
So
even in hindsight, I feel like The Man Who Changed His Mind should have been a little higher on my list after talking.
Because
I thought that movie when I watched it was gonna like be towards the back of my list, and then I was kind of like,
this one right here kind of misses like the premise that it had. I feel like a little bit like. It's so funny too. I just realized I'm reading the synopsis here. I'm going to read it. It says 2 men stumble into an old mansion and get involved with a crazed scientist, torture chambers, and sinister medical experiments. And I'm like, that's not really the narrative to the movie, like at all.
Yeah, it sounds better than it is.
Like
there's like no narrative to the movie.
Well, that doesn't even.
I just remember a lot of talking.
That's not the narrative though. Like it's about this dude that essentially inherits this property from an uncle that he never met. And on the way to going inheriting his property, he meets this woman and he kind of like falls for her and stuff like that. But it turns out, of course, because this movie is like 70 minutes long and we need this kind of short, condensed narrative plot point. But it turns out that her father is actually housed up in this place that he just inherited. And he's in there doing a bunch of experiments and stuff like that. And he can't get access to his own place. So he's basically trying to figure out like how he can fucking get in there. And he finds out this shit that with the girl that that he loves or whatever, her dad's in there doing experiments and shit, which is, we don't really know exactly what's going on. And then there's this side plot too, with these 2 criminals that get word that there's maybe some treasure in this house. So we've got this kind of side plot to the story too. So there's like all this shit that's going on. And yeah, it doesn't sound overly bad, but it's like really fucking boring. And it's like, it's monotonous. It gets so monotonous too. It's like the same note over and over again. And this dude he shows up at his place and he gets assaulted by these dudes. And he's like, why the fuck can't I get in my place? Of course, it doesn't say fuck because it's 1936. I don't think there was even a curse word on film at this point. But you got all these things that are happening. We got these people inside. We got this love angle. We've got these criminal angle. We've got this dude freaking out. You know, he's dealing with the solicitor, whatever the fuck. And it's just, it's like a house full of fucking secrets. It's a narrative full of boringness. Also, I don't know, man. Like I said, this could have been number 10. This could have been number 7. I give this one a 5 also, which is like all these films have the same rating. I just didn't know how to rank them, to be honest. So it just ended up at number 7. I thought this one had some decent ideas to it and stuff, but where it goes in the third act, you're just like, what? Like,
it kind of reminds me of like Spookies was made in 1936. It's just like a kitchen sink. Let's just throw like 20 fucking things and see like what happens.
I mean, yeah, you're right, though, because like when you have that much narrative to a movie that's like 70 minutes long with all these kind of side stories and all these characters and all this shit, like, what the fuck? Like, you're making it too complicated. And now it's just like a total throwaway. You know, there's no tension in this at all. And like, you know, once you kind of get into the third act and shit, and you're just like, I don't fucking care at this point now. Like, I don't care. I want them not to end up together. You know, like you're rooting against the inevitable. It's fucking frustrating, man. House of Secrets, 5 out of 10.
Could have used the 4-hour version of that one instead of Shadow of Chinatown.
Right. Yeah, there's so much going on in such a short period. It's like, what the fuck is going on? But it's just like, it's such convenient filmmaking. Like he's on his way and he meets this girl. And then it turns out that she's the one that's like living there. Her dad's in there. I'm like, what the fuck? Shut up. I'm like, that's...
I like the lead guy, though. He was pretty charismatic.
Yeah, he's probably one of... honestly, the one criminal was killing me, man, because he was like that very stereotypical early Hollywood kind of moron criminal shit, and everything he said, he's like, you know, you'd kind of do that after and shit. I'm just like, fuck. Oh, my God. Making me laugh. But yeah, House of Secrets, 5 out of 10. I honestly don't really recommend it, but it just falls where it falls. So... JP.
Yeah. Next one for me is another Boris Karloff one. This is my number 7, The Walking Dead. I actually really enjoyed this one. So the Boris Karloff plays this dude who basically is being framed for by a gang. He's unfairly tried because I believe he was in prison before, and they killed like this judge and basically set him up to look like he was getting revenge for the judge that sentenced him. So they put him to death in an electric chair. A doctor, mad scientist guy, revives him, and this one I thought actually had like some of the most stuff going on in it in terms of like plot, because there's like this whole idea that like, you know, he doesn't have very much like animosity towards when he comes back to life, he doesn't have very much like animosity towards like the people who framed him, but he kind of wants to know why. And then their own guilt kind of like does them in, which I thought was pretty cool. And then there's like this whole thing about,
well, I think it's interesting that they kind of utilize his character in this film. Like when he gets revived as like the Walking Dead, he's like Frankenstein.
Yeah.
It's literally Frankenstein again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So yeah, it's pretty interesting.
There's a whole thing about like, I think that the Lord our God is a jealous God, which is like a quote, a passage from the Bible, which I thought was pretty interesting because like basically saying like, you're going to piss God off if you try to be God because he's jealous of other gods, essentially. Thought that was kind of cool. I don't know. I thought it was a pretty decent movie, honestly. I watched this one last night. I give it a 6 out of 10 as well.
Yeah, it becomes like the same kind of tragic story as Frankenstein, right? Mm-hmm. Because you're right. Like, it's interesting because you think that like they bring him back to life and, you know, it should be a revenge tale because he totally got fucked over. He got wrongfully accused of, this heinous crime and put to death and shit like that. And like, it just becomes the same thing as Frank's. I thought it was actually kind of cool. It's in a sense, it's pretty sad, but
yeah, agreed.
Who's up? Is that GP?
I'm
Tony.
up.
Tony.
So number 7, I have a short film from Columbia Pictures called Midnight Blunders. Directed by
Ghost for the Year.
What's that?
This is the Hold That Ghost for the Year that JP was asking for.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Like. I didn't actually watch it.
What's it called? Midnight Blunder?
Midnight Blunders. So it's 17 minutes long. It's directed by a guy who has directed literally like 100 Three Stooges shorts. And it's basically just a slapstick horror comedy short. So it's basically about these two like idiot security guards who go to search for a mad scientist who is kidnapped by like an evil Asian like rich man who wanted to like steal his experiments from him. And honestly, like if you're into Three Stooges and slapstick comedy and shit, like you're just gonna have a really good time with this. There's a lot of good like funny bits in this movie. Like there's a scene where he goes to tell a guy to look out and make a cat noise if he hears something. So the guy walks away, and all of a sudden a real cat comes in and starts meowing and making goofy shit happen that way. Like there's a scene where like the barrel of a gun gets curled around. So dude goes to point and shoot, and he shoots his friend in the ass who's standing behind him. Shit like that. And so like the mad scientist that gets kidnapped in this movie is making this weird like Frankenstein creature. And it pretty much only looks like Michael Myers with like a goofy like gorilla mask on. It's just like a dude in a jumpsuit. And our two idiots accidentally revive him. So like this monster is chasing them around this place while they're looking for this evil Asian scientist. And yeah, I mean, that's pretty much all I got. Like if you're into comedies and shit and Three Stooges and whatnot, like you can't do much worse than that. There's a scene where somebody explodes, and after they explode, all that's left of them is like a cheap, like plastic skeleton with just like their face on top of it. It's pretty funny. And also this movie is pretty racist as well. Like since they're looking for like an evil, like Asian guy, they're like looking for like a Chinaman, and they probably say Chinaman like 36 times in this movie.
Yeah, I'll be saying it over and I laugh every time.
You see a Chinaman with a wooden leg? Because he also apparently has a wooden leg too. But yeah, I mean, honestly, it was nice. It was like a nice palate cleanser from all the like the boring bullshit we've been watching this year. Like to actually laugh and have a good time was nice. So I'm going to give Midnight Blunders a 6 out of 10.
Yeah, I got a kick out of this one too. I just like wanted to avoid like overloading my list with shorts.
Yeah, I don't want to put too many shorts on my list, but I pretty much saved it to stuff to me that made a little bit more sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I probably should have watched some of these so I could at least chime in a little bit, but I mean, I feel like everything with shorts except for these ones just sound better than the short movies.
Yeah, spoiler, the shorts were the best part about 1936.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, Tyler.
All right. Speaking of shorts, I also have a short, but I think this is the best short of the year. And this is the first movie I'm gonna say is a good movie, and that's The Facts in the Case of M. Voldemar. This movie's like, it's really, really unsettling. It's almost like jarringly unsettling and creepy for 1936. It's literally just a dying man and a doctor like performing experiments and like weird types of hypnosis on him like for 12 minutes, like in his deathbed. And like the camera work is like really eerie. It's all handheld, and like there's weird editing techniques. You go back to like his experiments. There's a lot, and it's silent. The film is silent, so there's a lot of like really strong facial acting and a lot of like really like eerie, like almost uncomfortable cinematography. That this might be like among the most memorable things I remember for the year. And I would definitely like recommend like this is one I definitely would recommend. It's 12 minutes long. It's on YouTube. The big problem with this movie is, like I said, it's silent, but it's not just silent and there's not music. It literally is the worst, like scratchy, blown up, like ambient noise you'll ever hear in your life. And if there was a way they could just get rid of all that and like insert some like eerie music to go along with this, it would do so much to elevate this to the point where I think it would be like a notable horror short, like in the history of horror. So this is on YouTube. I definitely recommend checking it. It's like, it's from a film technique wise, it's really like bounds above anything that anyone was doing this year in terms of experimentation. I can almost relate it to something like in the same vein as like Maya Deren's like Meshes in the Afternoon. That was like so far ahead of what anybody was trying to do in the 40s. But yeah, I definitely recommend this. The Facts in the Case of M. Valdemar. I'll give it a 6 out of 10.
It's funny. I did a quick search on IMDb and the 2014 version of this came up. The Facts in the Case of M. Valdemar.
Oh, I didn't even know it was a remake. That's cool. I wonder, was it like a full length? 14
minutes, and I just realized, I just scrolled down, and the narrator in it apparently is Julian Sands. Rest in peace to Julian Sands.
That's really cool.
Also, rest in peace to Roger Corman.
Yeah, no shit.
Oh, Roger Corman died finally?
Yeah, today.
He died yesterday.
Or yesterday, whatever.
Because like he was what, almost 100?
98.
98, man. Fuck, what a life.
He was just on Joe Bob over the summer. Or sorry, over the first episode back. And man, he was just like, he just talked so good for 98, and then he was just gone.
I always get so bummed when people are so close to 100 and they don't make it.
I know. Yeah. I thought he was for sure making it.
Then Betty White died in 99.
She died at like 18 days before her 100th birthday.
Dude.
That was like particularly brutal.
And everybody was like, the whole entire world was like crossing their fingers for Betty White to make it to like 100.
Man, that's like my great grandma too, man. She was born in 1896 and she died, I think at the beginning of December of 1999. So she was 103, but she almost lived in 3 different centuries. She only needed like a couple more weeks. She would have lived in 3 different centuries.
Insane.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, that's
like wild. 3 different centuries. It's fucked. Like,
wow.
She saw every technological fucking event. Like, it's just crazy, man. And she died in an old folks home, and she was still like, she would work and she would help with the old people in there. She just died in her sleep one night. It's crazy. Like, fuck, what a life, man.
Couldn't we all be so lucky?
No shit, man. No shit.
Who was the last celebrity to make it to 100? Kirk Douglas?
Probably.
Yeah. Fuck, he did. He hit 100, didn't he?
He was like 104. He was something. He blew it out. I think Olivia de Havilland did too. I don't know when she died though, but she was like 105.
What did you give that short, Tyler?
6 out of 10.
6.
Cool. So it's my go. All right. Coming in at number 6 is probably going to be a shock to some people, but and that is Dracula's Daughter.
Okay.
Ooh.
So yeah, number 6, Dracula's Daughter. I've never really been the hugest fan of the sequel because it's really the sequel that just happened because they couldn't do what they wanted to do. So Bela Lugosi was supposed to return as Dracula for a sequel,
but he was too busy making Shadow of Chinatown.
Yeah, he was too busy making Chinatown. Yeah, no, we all know the story, man. He was holding out because he wanted more money from Universal, didn't want to pay him and stuff like that. So they scratched the whole fucking sequel. And this is pretty much why this.
I feel like that really ended up affecting his career.
Yeah, I think so too. Actually,
on it, because I feel like Karloff got way more opportunities.
Oh, Karloff is in everything, man. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. The one movie he was in with Karloff, he was basically like second, like fiddle.
But you got to
talk about the Invisible Ray.
Yeah, you got to remember though, like Karloff is a way better actor than Lugosi was.
That's true.
And it's not even close.
It's not. Like Karloff was legit a good actor. Like he honestly took his shit super serious. Like if you've ever watched a documentary on Karloff, like I learned so much about him, man. That guy was a professional actor, dude. Like he really took it serious. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But anyways, like Dracula 31. 6 or 5 years later, we get the sequel eventually because, like I said, Lugosi held out and they didn't want to pay him. So they actually ended up writing a brand new script, which didn't obviously have Dracula in it, called Dracula's Daughter. And, this movie to me has always been such a fucking bore fest. Like this is a really well-made movie. It's acted well. It's shot well. Like there's all the technical specs of this movie are pretty good. And the cool thing about the movie, though, in my opinion, it starts where the first one leaves off. Like,
yeah, and they never used to do that, really.
No, and it's literally where it leaves off. It's so cool. I love when films do that. So it's a really nice setup and stuff. I just don't like the story in this movie at all. I don't like the narrative. I find it super coma-inducing. It's boring to me. Nothing really happens in this movie. Like, it's just, I don't know, man. It's just a really big budgeted flop, in my opinion. That's, a well-made film, but, I don't know, man. I think, some of my problem might have been too that I know, like my memory was like, I know this movie starts out right where the Dracula leaves off. So I watched Dracula again, and that movie's fun, man. I like the original Dracula film. It's got really good atmosphere. It just feels like a fucking horror movie. You know what I mean? It's got good atmosphere. Lugosi's he's really good in that portrayal of Dracula. I like the stuff on the demeanor. I think that's really cool. But I like the cast. My favorite thing about the original Dracula is like the actual castle that they shot in. Mm-hmm. That shit is fucking ginormous, man. Like it is so big and freaky. It just like freaks me out when you watch it. It's like so overly big. So cool, man. But so yeah, anyways, I watched the original Dracula because I knew this one started right where it left off, and I'm just like completely let down by it. I don't like the story in this movie at all. I think it sucks. I really do. I think it's fucking boring. I think it sucks. And yeah, I don't really have a lot to say about Dracula's Daughter. I mean, I'm sure everyone's fucking probably seen it before. But I'll give it still a 6 out of 10 just for the technical aspects of the film. It's just not really a lot to say about it, man. There really isn't. I'm going to leave it at that. I'm sure somebody else will be talking about it, so we can get into it.
Okay, so my next film, I think the only other I know. Tony, do you have Letterboxd?
Yeah.
Do you follow me?
Yeah, I follow you. I follow all three of you guys.
I don't think I follow you. But I need to follow you because I don't know if Tyler rated this one or logged it. I think Moodz did. But it is a. Wait, which number? We're on 6, right?
Yeah.
6, yeah.
All right. So this movie is foreign. I'm trying to see where it's from because I forget already. It is
German.
Where'd my mic go?
Is it not German?
What's that? It is German. It is German.
Is it? Yeah. So it's Ferryman Maria.
Yeah. So Ferryman Maria.
I didn't log this, but I did watch this.
Okay, so you did watch this. Okay.
Yep.
Okay, so this one follows this like homeless woman who goes to a village and takes a job as a ferry woman, I guess. Basically pulling a rope, pulling the ferry from one side of the river to the other. She
kind of gets the job by default because the other guy died.
The other guy died.
And everybody thinks it's haunted now.
Yeah. He died by death. So death came for him. There's pretty much basically a Grim Reaper, which I thought was cool. I like that about this movie. And she basically finds this dude who is injured and she takes him into her little hut and revives him, basically falls in love with him. And she finds out that death is after that guy. So she kind of tries to distract death. I thought it was just a cool, simple, effective movie. One of my favorite movies is Phantom's Carriage, and sort of a similar story but way better. But yeah, I thought this one was pretty cool. I like the location and the setting. It was I feel like most of these movies are London based, and
they're all English. It's crazy, right? Every movie that came out in the 30s was English if it wasn't from Universal.
it was kind of cooler to see like a countryside. There's like a more boggy moor type thing that is there. So I think just like the change of like location was good for me. So I ended up giving this one a 6.5. So I'm like way ahead of you guys in the ratings.
Yeah, I just had my first 6. My first 4 were all 5s.
Yeah,
I've only given 6s to short so far.
Right. But yeah.
Yeah, I completely missed that one.
I feel like this girl was fucking awesome because like, can you imagine doing that job, pulling that rope all day? Your arms would be fucking so sore, but you'd be so built. That's a tough job, man. That's a tough job. But
it is.
I was getting like I was getting like 7th Seal vibes in this film too.
Yep.
Kind of like it's kind of like an early version of I also
7th Seal is something it definitely reminded me of it. Yeah, like JP mentioned, Phantom Carriage was
Phantom Carriage.
Like that same like kind of like nightmares folklore essence to it.
Yeah, I love movies that actually have like a Grim Reaper
or death is represented in physical form.
I like
that
dig
too.
that. I think it's the cool concept.
Well, that's like the whole 7th Seal thing. Like there's this really great scene where a dude's playing a game of chess with the devil or with death. And it's like, it's just so fucking cool, man. Like the 7th Seal is classic, dude. It's an amazing film. I can't believe you've never seen that.
Mm-mm.
Oh my God. Like they teach that shit in film schools, man. Cause it's like, it's so good, but yeah.
Who directed that movie?
Bergman?
7th Seal.
I just wanted you to say it.
Oh. Okay. So yeah,
that's me or that Bergman reference in maybe
anyone.
Oh, well, I know who directed. When I was taking film classes, of course we had to study that film. It's so good though.
But yep, Barman Maria. 6.5.
Ferryman Maria. If you want to.
Well, English the German title is Farman.
Yeah, but English translation is Ferryman Maria.
Anyway.
Right. All right, Tony.
All right. So, number 6, I have from the director of Mary Poppins, Old Yeller, Flubber, and some other old Disney shit. The Man Who Lived Again, or The Man Who Changed His Mind, or Dr. Maniac, or The Brain Snatcher, or The Dr. Maniac Who Changed His Mind, starring Boris Karloff.
Such a mouthful.
I know, that was a lot. But yeah, I like this movie a lot too. Like, it's really goofy. I like when Boris Karloff plays the mad scientist. He knows how cheesy it is, so he throws a lot of like tongue-in-cheek shit into his performances and whatnot. And I like this one just because it's a lot more comedic than some of the other roles he's taking. I love when he's like making a fool out of the guy who's like funding his entire experiment and dealing with the monkeys and all that shit. And I thought the mind swapping scenes are really cool too. I like the machines that were used and whatnot. And it was really fun, like when he would take his paralyzed like assistant and swap his mind with somebody, and then you get character or actors playing different characters and all this other type of shit. Mm-hmm. Like, it just made it a lot of fun for just an hour movie. And for that, I give it a 6 out of 10. But yeah, just like, I agree with pretty much everything JP said. It's just a nice breezy movie. Mm-hmm. Well directed too.
Yeah.
All right. Rate it.
Agree.
6.
I think you said 6.
So I just make sure in case Tony's one of the people that do the ratings for me.
Right. Yeah. Tyler.
All right. To hop right on the piggyback of that, my number 5 is also The Man Who Changed His Mind, or any other title you would like. Yeah, this is one of the better paced movies, and a good thing for your movie to have going forward in 1936 to have Boris Karloff in it. It turns out that helps it a lot. So it definitely has that going for it. But yeah, this movie's good. It's enjoyable. This is one of the earliest examples I've seen of just like the idea of like mind transfer. And I thought like how they did it and how they played into like the final act it really did give you some tension, and that leaves you give you like some peril you didn't know was going to happen. But I would have liked it more if it went the way that I think a lot of us would have also liked it to go. But like many movies this year, it has that problem where it's like at the last minute, everybody lives happily ever after, and that was kind of cool. That was kind of hokey. But this isn't a movie. It's kind of a quite like you guys said, like a through the breeze movie. It's got good acting. It's got good pacing. And it's at least like a concept that stands out a little bit from the rest of the movies this year. I'm also going to give this one a 6 out of 10.
Sweet. Sweet. 6 out of 10. All right. What am I at, number 5? Oh yeah. So coming in number 5 for myself, and this is actually Tyler's number 10, and that is The Demon Barber of Fleet Street. I like this movie.
Oh damn.
I actually don't mind this one. I would, it made me want to, grab that box set and watch this with a good transfer, because I don't know. I like the idea of the Demon Barber. Like, I mean, he's really just a piece of shit criminal. But I think some of the effects and stuff that they pulled off in this film were pretty cool, with like the seat like rotating and like throwing these bodies into the ground and shit. Like, I think it's pretty funny. One of my favorite.
I like the screams. That was like my favorite part was the chair.
Yeah. The chair, the whole idea of the chair thing is pretty cool. I just find it so funny. Like, every time he's about to like commit a murder and stuff like that, he gives the kid a penny to go buy a fucking pie. Like, get the fuck out of here, kid. Go get your pie. I'm going to kill somebody. I love that shit. I do agree, though. This movie probably could be a little bit better, but what sells it for me is Todd Slaughter's performance as the barber. So he's just good, man. He's got this really good presence to him. He pulls it off quite well. And I mean, it's too bad that they don't. I mean, this movie could have like a crazy body count, right? But it doesn't really play out like that. There's kind of like this whole kind of angle where, people are being saved down there and shit like that, which I think is a little bit corny and stuff. But I do like the whole idea of the film. I think it's pretty fun. But yeah, I mean, there's not really a whole lot to see. I mean, everybody knows the story of the Demon Barber. And is this I can't remember. Is this the first version?
Second one.
There is a silent one, right?
Yeah, I think there's one from like 1920 or something.
Yeah, it's like a silent version of it. Okay. Never seen that one before, but have you guys seen the Tim Burton one? You guys like that one?
I've never seen that one, but I've seen one from like later on, before Tim Burton, but after this one.
Oh, really? Okay.
I never did.
We did. I feel like it might have been a year in the 70s that we got that had one, because I watched it for a prep once. I don't remember it being good.
This movie was actually the first Sweeney Todd I ever saw.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I think only having seen the Tim Burton would maybe set me up for like small, like bad expectations, because like obviously I didn't think it was gonna be like violent like that one. But that one's got like, that like thick, like gothic, like Tim Burton, like aura to it. And it's way more contained to a story about like the barber in the city, where like that was almost just like incidentally a part of this movie. It was more of like a crime movie. I think maybe like I was like disappointed in that aspect of it.
Yeah. And it's funny too, like they don't develop the character as much as they probably could, because this one is actually one of the longer films of the year. It's like, it runs 76 minutes long. So
yeah, a little bit longer,
something like that. But I honestly, man, I mean, this one didn't actually feel that long to me. I thought it was really well acted and stuff, and the set pieces were pretty cool in this. And I mean, for a low budget film, I mean, it felt like it wasn't, probably its budget. It felt a little better. But again, like the whole ending, the whole third act of the film, I thought was decent. Like, it's got some decent tension to it and stuff, and like, is he going to get away? Is he not? Kind of thing. Like, I mean, who knows? It's decent. It's decent for what it is. I enjoy it. 6 out of 10 on that one also.
All right. Coming in at number 5 for myself is Sweeney Todd, the Demon Barber of Fleet Street. Same as Moodz. Yeah, I actually really like this movie. I was actually surprised that Tyler didn't like it so much, because I think this one's like one of the more competent like stories. Like, it's pretty interesting. There's this barber who's murdering people to steal their money. He's partnered with the woman in the same building, essentially, like just across the other side of the building. They share a basement. It's like interconnected. And she makes meat pies, and it makes me wonder what's in those meat pies. You know what I'm saying? And
God, meat pies.
Well, that's what it's like in the Tim Burton one. Like that's what it is.
I think that's what it is in the story too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
they just don't.
But it's like I felt like they just didn't indicate that. I felt like
cannibalism is a little too much for 1936.
Yeah, it's definitely implied. It's definitely implied, right? I mean,
it's like more used as a joke here than anything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I don't know. The trap floor with the people falling and landing on their head is pretty interesting.
I think the funniest thing though really is like it's like a running joke on the kid, you know, just he's working in the barbershop,
get a meat pie,
and then like he's eating these meat pies, but like he's like the one bringing them in there and stuff, and then he's like kind of the butt end of the joke that he's actually eating his customers.
Yeah, and the
kind of funny.
The Sweeney Todd tells him he's gonna cut out his tongue and shit. I'm like, damn, bro.
Mm-hmm.
But I like Todd Slaughter. I think he definitely like amps it up in his performances.
Oh yeah,
like he comes off like maniacal, and I like that because you know these movies aren't super like well made. So like if we're not gonna like, I'll take a little bit of like amped up unrealisticness to sort of add to the entertainment value for this era. But yeah, this was one of the more fun watches for me, and it was funny, and just seeing like him being greedy, and then he's like robbing the person that's helping him with these crimes by getting to the bodies first and stealing the shit. You know what I mean? So they're like not trustworthy, either of them. But it's also kind of weird how like sometimes like the person like doesn't die or whatever. Like I think she hides one of the bodies or whatever, and then he thinks that they escaped through like the sewer or something. But it's like, wouldn't you be like more like that? Pretty much would fuck you over. You know what I mean? Like you're fucked. But yeah, I liked it. I thought it was pretty cool. I give it 6.5 out of 10.
Cool. Tony.
All right, so number 5. That's where we're at, right? Yes.
Yeah.
So this one's been mentioned. It is the second and final short film on my list, and it is Il Caso Valdemar, or The Facts in the Case of M. Valdemar. So
and he's been honey dick this whole show.
Honestly, I kind of have.
Going forth on this is rough.
Yeah, it's not too bad actually. It's like almost like taking a break. But Tyler pretty much like said everything there is to say about this. Like watching all this just studio just churn bullshit, and then finally getting some type of like experimentation film in 1936 was like the biggest breath of fresh air you could like ever ask for. And like the effects were so good, and it's so cool. Like this is the shit that I like would love to see from this era, but you just know that like none of this even exists. But in case of this movie, like I give it a 6.5 out of 10. Like for a short film, it's really cool. Like it does like lack from music, like that really kills the whole like thing. But it's like, honestly, like he said, it's probably the coolest thing I've seen from 1936. So for number 5, like it earns it even at 12 minutes.
Yeah, that's why I didn't want to put police like the goofy one on here. So like I don't want 3 shorts on here, but like this one had to be like my top one.
Same.
Oh, what do you give that one?
6.5. My first 6.5. So I'm actually starting to really enjoy these movies. And there's 4 left.
All right, Tyler.
All right. We got one coming up that has been mentioned once, and that is from the man who brought you Casablanca, Michael Curtis's The Walking Dead. Following the common theme of cast Boris Karloff anchor movie, and you will have good results. He brings a lot to this because he gives a really good performance that like stands out to me as one of the better performances of the year. Where he gets framed for murder by a gang, and he gets unfairly tried, and he gets executed, and he gets brought back to life through this experiment, where he has he seems to have like no memory of the people who killed him or like the prosecutor, but like he has kind of like an intuition about it, like a sense of knowing like they're responsible for it, and they even like tell him. And it's just like, it's really, this movie kind of, it works psychologically, where it explores more of the people's guilt around this, and there's just like this like almost like supernatural weight that Boris Karloff's character experiences. And then when you get to the end of the movie and it ends like it does, like kind of somberly, it's like him like understanding like the weight of like this science and this experience and like the guilt of like these people. It's really like interesting. I do think this movie's a little dry. It's more like interesting and like has like more to chew on than it is entertaining, I would say. I think that's like ultimately what holds it back the most. But this stands out with at least like content wise from a lot of the stuff in the year, and is one of the more like I think like effective movies, and has like one of the better endings of the year. This is definitely something that like I wish like was out like on my Warner Archive or something. I would like love to pick up like an older movie like this. Yes. This is probably the first movie like I really like. I would really like to consider like one that most people should see. But yeah, it's not the most incredible thing. It's still like just like a good movie for this year. But there's more that this movie gets right. Even though it is a little dry, it has like its strong spots that you can see like kind of like maybe had some influence on horror going forward. And Boris Karloff is a big part of that, and it really lets you see like why someone like him was the man back then. So I'm gonna come in at a 6.5 on this one.
Nice.
Cool. All right. So coming in at number 4 is The Man Who Changed His Mind, aka yes. We know he has like 3,000 titles. I just like the whole premise of it, man. I like the mad scientist shit, man. I like the whole idea of changing or putting your mind into someone else's body. That whole premise is really cool and stuff. It's just a fun movie. Karloff is great as the villainous. I mean, I guess in a sense he's portrayed more as a villain in the film, but it's because like, you know, there's this whole angle where he's like this scientist and stuff, and then he gets his funding gets cut and shit like that, and he's kind of like rebelling against it, right? He's like, well, fuck that. I'm making waves and shit. I'm gonna do my shit my own way and stuff like that. I kind of like that whole premise. It's not like a straight like revenge tale. It's just more of like morbid curiosity to like what he can really do with his experiments and stuff like that. And I think it's pretty cool, man. I mean, this one's been mentioned on everyone's list. Not really a whole lot more to say about it, but I'm going to give this one a 6.5 out of 10. Good performance from Karloff. Yeah.
All right. My number 4 has been mentioned before. It is Dracula's Daughter. So, yeah, I'm not like the biggest fan of this in terms of like the Universal Monsters films. It's actually one of my least favorite, believe it or not.
It was so fucking boring.
But in terms of like the stuff that came out this year, I think it's one of the stronger films, because it's at least like pretty competently made and probably has like more atmosphere than most of the movies. This one you have Dracula's Daughter. And I don't know who the female is who played this character, but I like her. She has like this seductive quality to her, which is good for vampires. There's also some thoughts that maybe like this is the first like lesbian vampire, because there of a scene with the girl that she wants to paint or whatever.
Yeah, I agree. It's definitely the gayest movie of 1936.
100% it is. 100%. Yeah.
Yeah. I like that it ends in Transylvania because that's where the original Dracula opened. So I thought that was kind of cool. But it is a bit boring.
I feel like nothing even happens in this whole movie. Like nothing.
Honestly,
happens.
like you guys like aren't wrong. Like I was like very like surprised that like man, like not a lot happens here.
But
this is the problem. This is the problem with when you
have you seen it before this?
No, this was the first time I saw it. It was actually everything I watched was the first time watch.
This is the problem.
Yeah, it's kind of fucked up because she kind of plays like the sidekick female character who's like trying to pine for like the man in this movie because she's trying to get rid of her like vampirism by trying to get like
vampire.
The thing I don't understand about this movie that it's always confusing to me. It's like there's this like hint of like in the narrative that like she's not Dracula's daughter. Right. But then there's a moment in the film where she literally says, I'm Dracula's daughter.
Where's the part? Where's it hinted at that she's not Dracula's daughter?
I don't know. I just get this feel like it's just too straight up. Like it's Dracula's daughter. Is she actually Dracula's daughter? See, the whole narrative doesn't really make a lot of sense to me because like they say that she got transformed into a vampire like 100 years prior. But they claim that like he was
one for 500, right?
But he was 500 years old when he got killed by Van Helsing. So how in the fuck did he create a daughter when he's undead? In the folklore of vampirism, you don't have fucking kids.
Well, maybe it's not his biological daughter, but like
I assumed it was just
so he just transferred. Yeah. So she claims she's the daughter through just by being transformed into a vampire
and like just being with. Like, you know, maybe he treated her as
I looked at it kind of like a interview with a vampire type deal.
Okay, because I was confused by that too. I was like, okay, is it just because he transformed her or changed her into a vamp? Like, okay, so that makes sense. But
what's the girl's name in Interview with the Vampire?
Kirsten Dunst.
Kirsten
Dunst. Yeah. So like, essentially, she was like their daughter, even though it gets a little weird.
Well, I mean, it makes sense because she literally was a kid, right? In this, it's just like he transformed her into a vampire.
Yeah, you do have a point. Like, why would you transform a 30-year-old woman and then claim her as your daughter?
That's what I'm trying to say.
Fucking strange.
It doesn't make any fucking sense.
I mean, when you're left by yourself for 500 years, like I don't know, man. Like you probably come up with some weird.
Yeah, but wouldn't you want a wife instead of a daughter? Like, why don't you get a little girl?
No, because
there's always a point though. There's always a point of transforming somebody. Like you can either take their life, suck all the blood out of them, kill them, where they don't transform, or you can bite them and then they transform. Usually, vampires in the folklore, if they bite somebody, they want to change them for a reason. So like, but it's not really that explored in this either. It's just like, oh shit, I'm his daughter kind of thing. Like I was transformed like 400 years after, you know, it's like, what the fuck? Like it's a messy
like
written narrative.
Dude,
and it's a boring narrative. And it's a boring narrative tue. Like this whole movie is just like, there's like nothing fucking happening. It's such a,
it's my number 4.
It's such a bad sequel to a really good vampire film.
See, right? I don't even love Dracula that much. That's I actually think that the Dracula films are like the weaker of the.
Well, I think the first Dracula film, I just rewatched it again the other night, and I was like, I haven't seen it in years, and I was like, what, it's really good. I mean, maybe it could be the factor that I've been watching a lot of fucking garbage from 36. That just
I guarantee if I watched it during this time period, I would love it. I saw it in the theater once, and that was the best experience I've had with it. Carly actually,
there's some good atmosphere in it. There's some good atmosphere. There's some really good shots in it. Like I think like the whole, like I said, the whole step, like
there's actual sound design with like fucking wolves howling and stuff.
Yeah,
it's the night. Good shit.
And then you get this sequel, which of course is like a sequel that was written because of what happened with Bela Lugosi and shit like that too. But I mean,
why is there a show called MILF Manor?
They couldn't fucking come up with something better than this boring.
Why not?
Like, it's fucking. It's honestly out of the whole original Universal franchise, this is the worst one. This is the worst film in my opinion.
Anyway, I give it a 6.5 out of 10. I still enjoy it. in comparison to a lot of these films. But yeah, I agree that it's like one of the weaker Universals.
All right, Tony.
All right. Well, speaking of being honey-dicked, my number 4 is also Dracula's Daughter.
Damn.
So, like, I do like this movie. Like, I do like how it starts pretty much like right after Dracula ends. And I love how Van Helsing is immediately arrested for killing these dudes. Because it's like imagine just like watching Dracula and
what kind of doesn't deny this shit? He's like, bro, I killed him.
Yeah, like I did y'all.
I drove a stake through his heart.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was really funny.
Yeah, because he's actually the only person that returns from the first movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the only guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, like, I do like the subplot about how Dracula's daughter doesn't want to be a vampire because, like, that's just another trope that's just like been built off of this movie. Like the person that doesn't consent to like becoming this and is doing everything in their power to not.
Yeah, that's
probably
fucking
the beginning
Interview with the
of
Vampire again.
Exactly, and it pretty much just starts here.
Yeah, yeah. This was definitely probably the first one, the reluctant sort of vampire, non-consensual thing. Yeah, that's a good point. That it's probably the first time that that's been done.
Yeah,
and now it's like such a common thing,
right? And we just had pretty much a remake of Dracula's Daughter this year, strangely enough.
With what?
Abigail.
Oh,
spoiler.
I guess you want to. Yeah, totally.
I haven't seen that.
Sorry.
Believe me, it's not a spoiler.
Dude, my fucking 2024 watches are at like 2 right now.
Damn, no shit.
Yeah,
I've caught most of the theatrical stuff.
We're gonna start going again. I was having issues, but anyway,
I've seen the majority of the ones also. So,
but yeah, I liked the actress that played Countess Zaleska. She kind of reminded me of like a proto like Morticia Addams. Like I almost feel like just her look alone was used in so many things that came after it. And one thing I didn't like what you guys said, it's kind of boring. There's way too light on vampire action. There's like barely anything in this movie.
Well, there's like none. There's like none.
Like none. Like Dracula's daughter, all she's doing throughout the entire movie is like pining for this psychiatrist who can like perform some like mind like trickery on her to like change her mind about wanting blood.
See, I don't really like that whole narrative. That part in the story is like such a weird thing to me because like you're undead, like you like, so if you're hypnotized to the point where you don't crave blood, so your idea behind getting this done to you would just be to fade away and die.
Yeah, pretty much. It's like, what are you going to eat then?
Right, because that's
like
what you live off.
Pretty much a hopeless thing that she wants.
So, like, really, the whole point of the movie is just pointless.
Pretty much, yeah. So, like, and it pretty much just ends that way too.
Yeah, it's even worse when we discuss it as a group too. It makes the movie even worse for me.
Yeah,
like it's a well-made movie. Like it looks good.
Yeah.
You know, it's acted, it's sound, like everything about this movie is good except for the actual story. It's just boring as fuck, man. Oh,
like if we're talking production values and everything, like this is probably the best like made movie on the entire list. But like y'all said, like there's problems. It's boring. There's barely any horror in it, and yeah, just when you stack it with the other Universal Monsters movies, just doesn't hold up, not nearly enough as the other ones. And in terms of Universal movies, I like The Invisible Ray more than this one. But overall, I did like it, and I'll also give it a 6.5 out of 10.
6.5. Man, this is crazy, man. Like we're into like the top 3s and we're
6.5.
No one even
not
has
a 7 in sight.
Not even a 7 yet. It's crazy. All right. So Tyler, number 3.
All right. I'm gonna get Human Centipede over here. My number 3 is Dracula's Daughter.
Damn, I'm just actually surprised. I'm out.
Pick that for Tyler.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really agree. I do agree with you guys. I think this movie gets pretty dry, and it does get pretty slow for a bit. I However, atmospherically, I think this is probably the best movie, and like I think this is production wise, I think this is the most appealing to me, and like the point you had made about yeah, like this is like the earliest, like the earliest you see of the reluctant vampire. Like I really did like the almost like that. This became more of like a psychological movie, and I like it's more intriguing to me than some of the other movies. I was kind of struggling if I was going to put this in my 3 or 4 because those movies seem pretty interchangeable to me. But I kind of feel like I thought they were both a little dry, and I gave this one the nod because I thought like the things I liked about this were more. And if I wanted to watch another like one of these movies again, I would probably rather watch this one because now that I know like that it's a much like slower movie than like I might have anticipated, and like I think I might like have a different attitude going into it, and trying to like just absorb the themes a little more because it really is kind of like interesting to have a movie like this at the time that really tries to delve more into like the psychological era of things where a lot of movies weren't really doing that. One thing about, and this is a completely me thing, but her manservant Sandford or something, or Sanford, I forgot his name. Pretty early on, I recognized that I thought he looked like Benicio del Toro, and I couldn't unsee that the entire movie, and it always just gave me like a chuckle.
That dude was kind of a bitch.
Yeah, the guy was a bitch, and I would.
He
say
acted
that,
like a jealous boyfriend, like the entire.
Yeah, the
movie.
whole movie he did. He was a simp.
The problem is that Benicio del Toro would look like him, not the other way around.
Oh yeah, but like I saw like this, I was like, man, that look like he looks like that guy. Yeah, that just kind of like made me laugh. But another thing we've kind of brought up is that a good transfer does a lot for these movies, and this movie also has the benefit of just like being the silkiest, like best looking movie, probably with some of the most like provocative, memorable shots. But I do agree. I think a lot of people will be disappointed to watch this. It is like on the slower, like much more dense side. And there's probably movies like that, like were better paced and more exciting than this. But I'm more interested on rewatching like kind of like what this movie was putting forward. And this could be interchangeable like anywhere on this list at this point today. At this point, like in any other game. But I'm gonna stay also with you guys at a 6.5 on this movie.
Cool.
6.5, man.
So we're all mid on Dracula's Daughter.
Yeah, I'm a little bit surprised. I thought somebody might have a little bit higher, but yeah, I mean, consensus is just straight up boring.
I actually had that as JP's favorite, so I'm out on him. And Tyler.
I had it as somebody's number 2. That as JP's number 2, and that's it.
I was out on Tyler before we even started this list. I picked Sabotage by Hitchcock as your number 1.
Because it would have been had he watched it probably.
Right, for sure. I'm like, damn, he didn't watch
feel
that
like
shit.
even if I liked it that much,
1 and 2. It's crazy.
Yeah, I'm still in on everybody except JP's too. I don't know. Like I actually really like the first, like my number 1, and even if I feel like even if I really like the Hitchcock movie, if I would know I was cheating, and I would probably not like.
Yeah, it's not a horror.
You cheated in 41, which had much more horror movies.
Yeah, but like, man, I didn't know. Like, I don't know. I was like, man, I'll probably cheat this year if I had a better chance.
Okay, Moodz.
I kind of prevented myself from cheating.
Good job.
All right, so coming in number 3 is The Walking Dead.
Boris I'm out on Moodz too, so I'm out on everybody.
Oh shit! Wow, crazy. Walking Dead for me. Okay. Again, most of the sentiments have been said about the film, but I do really like this kind of like take on, the tragedy, the tragic story of like Dracula. I mean, of Frankenstein. It totally reminds me of that movie, big time. But I really like how, you think this is going to be a total revenge tale, but it's like it kind of plays off almost a little bit supernatural, where I think Tyler mentioned something about the guilt that is really killing these people, because like all these deaths that are happening in the film are kind of by chance and by accidents and stuff, right? but in theory, it's really the guilt that's killing these people. So I mean, there's a little bit of commentary that's happening in the film and stuff like that. But Karloff's performance is really good. It's got a nice little design to the film, nice little look to it and stuff. And I think his performance is really good. Again, like I've never really seen too many Karloff movies where I haven't been enthralled by his performance. He always does well for me, for somebody that took it so damn serious. And, I feel like he's that present of this time and kind of sells off the movie to me. But, you can't help but this one really lives in the vein of Frankenstein. It's kind of a different type of story, but at the core, it shares a lot of the same DNA. So The Walking Dead, good movie. I actually really, really like this one. I need to find a copy. I know this one has a DVD, so it's one I actually might pick up, but I give this one 7. I really like The Walking Dead. I think it's good.
Okay. All right. My number. What?
That was our first 7.
Oh,
yeah. I just graduated, man. Just graduated.
Okay, so I this one I'm not even sure if anybody watched this one. I kind of took a little bit of liberty with this one, but it is The Petrified Forest.
Oh, I wanted to watch this.
This
can't even be close.
This stars Humphrey Bogart as what?
Yeah, that's why I wanted to watch it.
And Betty Davis. So this movie is basically Last House on the Left without any rape, revenge, or violence.
Without horror.
I did read the description of this, and I was like,
so it's just on the left.
It's
just the last house.
It's just the last house.
It's okay. So basically, this girl Betty Davis works at this gas station making hamburgers, and she is very bored with her existence and very shitty life. She dreams of going to Paris, and being sort of a getting out there. She likes poems and she likes artistry and stuff. Anyway, there's this set during the Great Depression. There's a failed writer who is a drifter, and he wanders into this roadside diner, and it's set in Arizona, at the edge of the Petrified Forest, and basically they sort of strike up a liking ship to each other, and basically that's the main plot of the movie until eventually there is this gangster played by Bogart, and his group who basically take them hostage. He's an escaped convict and believed that he had murdered some people that's in in the newspaper beforehand, but basically he takes them hostage, and that's sort of the story. That one thing that I'll say about it is that it ends on a downer. So, that it's definitely more thriller than horror. But I felt like with this year I could be a little bit more broad because this year was tough. But
motherfucker,
I was craving a downer ending movie this year.
And it has a downer ending,
I probably would have loved this.
Yeah, you
like Betty Davis.
Humphrey Bogart and fucking Betty Davis, crazy cast.
Yeah.
This is before Bogey was big too, because the Maltese Falcon is.
Well, it must have been before Betty Davis was big too. 1936.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. She was.
Yeah, I didn't know she was around that.
No, she had a lot. She was working early with William Wyler in the 30s.
I don't think I've ever seen any Betty Davis stuff from this era. I know Betty Davis as being a little bit older.
Yeah. That's where most of her dark stuff comes in.
Yeah,
later.
I love her fucking dark stuff, man. Her later
because her most popular movies don't come out for at least a few more years after this. There's Jezebel that got nominated for an Oscar. That was late 30s. Now Voyager's a kind of a rom-com one that was big for her in the 40s.
Yeah,
and then by the 50s, 60s, she was pretty seasoned. That's her most popular movies are. But William Wyler is like,
and the most drunk she was too.
William Wyler for a long time was considered like one of like the best American directors. He still kind of is, but like he kind of gets forgotten about. So I don't know like how prominent he was in the 40s, but she worked with him a lot.
But I really like the setting of this one. Like it's obviously done on a set, but I love the look of like the backdrop with like the Arizona desert and stuff like that. And I feel like the thing about this movie is if it went a little bit darker, it would be a horror film. You know what I mean? Because the fact that like this gang basically takes these people hostage in this diner, and you know it's like Last House on the Left without any of the fucking rape and
like, to be honest, like it probably is darker than all of the other horror movies because these horror movies just aren't fucking dark.
Well,
there's another movie
but it gets a little
in the 50s. Ooh, I was just gonna say, there's another movie in the 50s that's like almost the exact same plot of this, starring Humphrey Bogart.
My God, she had done a fucking ton of movies before this movie in 36. Like she started in 31, but like there's tons of acting credits even before this.
Yeah. Such good acting in this one as well. Like a lot, they spent a lot of time with the love story aspect of this Alan guy and Betty Davis's character. Betty Davis is awesome in this movie though, and Bogart is really good too. He's like basically John Dillinger, plays who was a notorious.
I was gonna say, what did you think of my man Bogey? I love Bogart.
Man, Betty Davis to me, man, is like whatever happened to Baby Jane. That's like the one movie I always fucking think.
Yeah,
she crushes it in that. That was like one of my best theatrical viewings I've ever had in my life.
I always forget that she was in Burnt Offerings too. It's crazy.
But yeah, I don't know. So I take it nobody watched this.
No,
I didn't watch it.
I
did like at one point. I did circle this, like when we were looking at movies that I was like,
if I see drama, I'm like, no.
I just felt like I would be like, I saw like, I'm like, if I know enough about Humphrey Bogart that like I would know if there was like if this was a horror movie. Like that's why I didn't watch it.
I find this very fucking. I find this funny right now, JP, that you're telling Tyler that he was cheating in 41 and he possibly could have cheated on this one or whatever.
Well, this is more darker. Cheating. This is more dark than Suspicion from 41. I'll tell you that.
I would probably agree with that just by reading this.
And but honestly, like if this year was stronger, I wouldn't include something like this. But we often include stuff that's outside the genre a little bit as well.
No, I'm always on point. I'm always on point. You're just cheating.
You have Driving Massacre, bro. Not Driving Massacre.
I was like, what? Driving Massacres or
Dead End Driving.
Fuck, that shit is terrifying as hell, man. Like, being locked in a fucking drive-in, man. Fuck, and not being able to escape. The commentary is crazy in that movie, but
I felt like a lot of movies this year were like barely horror anyway. I felt like a lot of them were like crime movies that like kind of had maybe got a little dark for a second, or like had, like, a horror element.
Crime movies had to have been the flavor of the week.
That's why these feel like prototype noirs, because they're not all there yet. Like a lot of the lighting's like they haven't figured out the lighting and like the atmosphere yet. That's basically what these movies feel like.
Yeah. Anyway, I give it a 7 out of 10.
Ooh, we're into the 7s. All right.
My number 3 has not been mentioned yet. It is directed by the master Todd Browning, and it is The Devil Doll.
That was that is your number 1.
I have that as your number 1 too.
Well, sorry to disappoint.
So
this is from MGM. It is about a wrongful.
I'm out on Tony too. I picked The Devil Doll as number 1.
Damn, y'all picked this as my number 1.
Shit.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to disappoint you guys.
Movie. This movie's awesome.
Well, I mean, this is a Tony movie, so. So yeah, we got like a wrongfully accused banker and a mad scientist who both escape prison for some reason. They just like, I like how
I know they don't even really like. Why was the scientist in prison?
Right, we don't know why he.
Yeah, they never actually explain that away, do they? Because we know why he was in jail.
Right.
Yeah. Fuck it, who cares?
So the movie literally starts with them outside of prison. So I really appreciate that. And so they escape and they go back to the mad scientist's lair where his like gimpy assistant, because every mad scientist needs a gimpy assistant.
That was a trope back then.
Right. They're working on their experiments, which in this movie is shrinking human or just living things to 1/6 of their size.
Yeah.
But they can't get the brain right. So basically we have another mind control / zombie movie where you can just control these things with your mind and just make them do whatever you want. So that's basically like every other movie this year that came out. So during like this experiment,
no, but this is done so much better. This is done so much better than any. Yeah.
Oh, for sure. So like as like the scientist is like showing the banker all this, he gets a heart attack and dies. So that's kind of fucked up. And then like his assistant, whose name is Melita, she's like, you have to like come with me. We have to finish his life work. We just have to. So the guy's like, okay.
So I think his idea was that he would shrink down everyone and then food would be more plentiful.
Oh, right. Exactly. Like this guy wanted to do it for the good of the world. He wanted to shrink the entire population.
And this guy wants like an apple would
feed like an army.
And this guy's also an escaped convict. For some reason.
Some reason.
So basically, this guy's laying there dead on a bed. So like our banker, who's played by Lionel Barrymore, I don't know if he's like related to Drew Barrymore. Do you guys know?
He is. So. He's a great grandfather. Yeah.
Okay.
That's so cool. Awesome.
Yeah.
So he decides to go along with the assistant's ploy of continuing with the research. So they move to Paris. He basically becomes Mrs. Doubtfire, and then they proceed to get revenge and clear his name in the process. And this movie is a whole lot of fun. Like
he's like super reluctant. Like at first, like he's kind of reluctant to use the technology that the scientists had come up with and stuff. And then he gets this bright idea. He's like, well, shit. He's like, I can totally get revenge this way. Like I can clear my.
The idea. He just dives like head first. He's like, hell yeah, we're fucking.
But it's funny because at first he doesn't want to do it, and then all of a sudden he's like, a light bulb goes off, and he's like, oh well, shit. I can totally fucking use this technology and fucking get revenge and shit. It's kind of cool, man. But anyways,
so basically they go to Paris and they create this like pop-up toy shop where he's basically dressed as an old lady and just transvestite clothes the entire movie, just walking around.
Well, you have to know
like an old woman.
It's because he's a wanted criminal, right? So he's dressed up like Miss Doubtfire. And it's so fucking funny, Tony, that you mentioned Miss Doubtfire, because I literally said that out loud to myself watching this movie. He's Miss Doubtfire.
I love seeing this dude walk around just like, oh.
But to be honest, his performance as the woman was really good.
He fucking really killed it.
I thought he was really good, man. Really fucking good.
I loved when the fucking cop showed up. He was like, oh, little old me can't be getting mixed up with this. Oh my god.
Yeah,
that's some Coney. Yeah. So basically what they're doing is they're shrinking humans down to 1/6 size, and he's using them to get back at the rich fucks that basically put him in prison 17 years ago, while also trying to get back into his daughter's life, who's been estranged this entire time and hates his guts because he was wrongfully accused of killing somebody and embezzling money, right?
Mm-hmm. Which is a kind of a weird part of the narrative, because like he has this idea that he wants to get in good graces, but then he completely abandons that idea. And then he doesn't tell her who he is. You know what I mean? Like it's such a weird thing. Like he does have this, but then he kind of switches gears on it. And then like, the whole end of the movie is just kind of like a downer note.
Yeah. I didn't really understand the direction that went. Like it just didn't make any sense to me. Like
it didn't make sense to me either, because I was confused by it too, because like I get he's still on the run. And he's like trying to clear his name and shit like that. But like, why at this point where she's changed her mind about her father to not tell her who he was. It made
I think it's because I think I know why. I think it's because he knows he can't be around. He knows they can never be, and he doesn't want her knowing that like her father's
Okay, I get that, but why not? Still,
I don't think he wants to burden his daughter, and he think it would be like he thinks it would be.
But he's not burdening his daughter. She changed her mind by that point. Like she was willing to have a relationship.
He doesn't want to like burden his daughter with the idea that like he's out there and that she can have a relationship with him when that's just not a thing that can happen. So he just felt like it was better for him to be dead, her to collect his insurance money because now that he's been cleared, and her to go on and live her life.
Oh, right, the insurance money. That's a good point.
That's how I took it as well.
That's a good point. I forgot about the insurance money. Right.
Well, why couldn't they like mend the relationship? That's my thing.
I mean, you could still do the insurance money and mend it.
Because then it doesn't show that he's a changed man.
Yeah, and the idea though is like if he comes out like you said, he's gonna get questioned about all these things, and like these things are gonna get dug up. Like you don't know what could be revealed with like the things he had to do with it. Like you don't he's worried that like it could like he can be discovered as this like old lady and be tied to these things that happen to these men. So he just like he feels it's better for him to go live his life, his daughter to like he knows his daughter is okay now, she can have the money and she can go on with her life, and that's why it's kind of like emotional. And he says like go get married, go like do all these things. Like he's giving he's sacrificing his blessing, his relationship with his daughter to like so she can go on and have a good life and not worry about like her dad out there and like missing her dad. You know what I mean? Like she can move on.
But it makes sense though, being a convict, right? I mean, the whole thing does kind of make sense in reality. So
yeah, like for me personally, like that's just another one of the many endings of 1936 where I'm just like, come on, like let me have the villain win, please.
Yeah, it does like fall into that same category. Like you're right.
Yeah,
you're absolutely right about that. If anything, it's like it's a touch. I would say it's probably the most touching ending, but like I don't know if that's like a feather in the cap for the horror films.
Hell yeah, not for me. You know what I mean? Like this guy works so hard to like clear his name and do all this and like get back at all the fucking assholes that put him in jail. I'm like, this guy deserves his fucking flowers. Like, let him have them. For God's sake.
I agree.
Well, but yeah, like ending.
Yeah, I mean, it was also down ending because I wanted Melita to carry on with the business. And we didn't get that either. So for me, it's just like a down. But besides that, like, I love the scenes with like the miniature people, like climbing around and stealing jewelry and shit. Like some of the giant furniture that they built like on set looked really good for like 1936.
I was wondering like how they did that. I was
they did.
No way they did furniture.
They did some scenes with the overlay, obviously. But then there is one scene where they completely built giant shit and they filmed it because you can tell. There was
one where the one she was opening the chest, right?
Yeah, where she's climbing on the stool, then climbing up onto the desk. Yeah,
because I was like trying to like look for the green screen. Yeah, I was like, how the fuck could you do that?
No, it was done by building giant shit. But like a lot of the stuff was overlay, which was a common effect back in the day. But even the overlay effects that they used were really good. But like them building the big shit was really fucking cool, man. I couldn't believe that they did it for that whole scene. I was like, that's really neat, man.
That scene was incredible. Really impressive.
It looks so good. And I bought that Blu-ray, man. I did. I bought it and it looked fucking crystal on this.
I got that Blu-ray for $10.
Shout out to fucking Warner Archives for that one, man, because that was fucking
I wish I just bought my little cart for like $100 on that.
Oh, this is a movie I'd rewatch, man. Like I watched this shit and I was like, oh my god!
Next time that shit goes on sale, I'm getting it.
Awesome fucking effects in this movie, crazy effects in it. I was so taken back by this and like his performance as like the dual character.
It made me want to watch The Incredible Shrinking Man. I think that'd make a good double feature.
Tyler, I literally said the same thing to myself. I have the Blu-ray sitting upstairs in my room. I'm like, gosh, I feel like watching that one. I love that movie. I love movies where people are shrunk. Like I remember watching Honey, I Shrunk the Kids in the theater when it came out and like loving the idea. Like it's so cool. It's fucking cool, man. I don't know.
When it's done right, it's just awesome. Like I was really impressed by the effects in this.
Yeah, man. Good shit.
Yeah.
Good shit.
I'm a big fan of shrinking shit too.
Yeah.
But yeah, this movie was a lot of fun to go through. Like I wasn't a big fan of the ending, as I just said, but like the effects are really cool. There's also like a pretty sweet explosion towards the end too. But yeah, like I like the acting, the directing was nice, the effects are great, and I give it a 7 out of 10.
Cool. 7 out of 10. Interesting. Okay. And Tyler.
All right. I got one coming up that has been named once. And if you watch this movie, you know this movie is a certified Tyler movie. My number 2 is Ferryman Maria.
Nice.
This was definitely a surprise movie for me. This one kind of got added like right at the end where I kind of like stumbled onto it.
Fuck.
And
pissed I didn't watch it.
I thought this movie was really cool.
I had this as your number 1.
Oh, this movie was I like this movie a lot. I will like just to get the criticisms out of the way, that I feel like it does kind of like stall and does kind of have like a minimal like actual storyline of like the fight for your love thing. You know what I mean? I felt like that was minimal, but that's like the
I also felt like just like most films of this era, the love happens so fast.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's the run times. That's the run times, though, man. Like they have to squeeze in.
This one was like an hour and 20 minutes, wasn't it?
Was it really?
Yeah, this was like the longest one because I was like, oh my god, I'm really gonna watch this 85-minute movie. And I was like, man, I'm glad I watched this 85.
Oh yeah, it was, and it was subtitled too, so it was like, yeah, shit.
Yeah, but yeah, like I had said, like this year really made me appreciate like what films were able to achieve, like what the good films of the era were like able to achieve. And this being German, like I did see like some parallels to like the German expressionism with like the way like they edited and shot certain things, like the way they use some of the lighting. You can't see like kind of like the footsteps following and taking cues from movies like Caligari, Faust. There's a lot of like the lighting in this kind of reminded me of Faust a little bit. They may really make some good use of its surroundings. I wish this movie had a better transfer. I bet you it would look really good. But yeah, like Moodz said about the Seven Seal, this reminded me of my favorite director to name drop, Ingmar Bergman in general. And it makes me wonder if like he took some influence like in this in his early work. Since he did work in Germany for a while when he got back to exile.
I'm thinking that there's got to be some influence from this film to the Seven Seal. It has to be.
It's like in another like Swedish film that like I know Bergman had to be a fan of because he cast the director of the Phantom Carriage as the protagonist in his film Wild Strawberries. So like there's no way he's not like intimately like familiar with that work. And there's even like a scene in this movie, you know, like the scene like where you see like the branches and like the moon in that like dark shot. There's like the same exact shot in Wild Strawberries. That came like starring the director of the Phantom Carriage from 1957. So like it just like I'm curious if there's more like just like storytelling like this that like was more popular like in Europe at the time, because this felt really unique and like almost on a different like level of thinking than a lot of the things that like we watched that were also in this year. Another in multiple Bergman movies too, the Seventh Seal being one. Another one is what's it called? I think it's called The Devil in the Eye or Eye of the Devil. That's what it's called.
Eye of the Devil.
Where it's the same deal where it's like the devil personified like as a person, like as like the antagonist of the movie.
Right.
And the thing like when the devil showed up, and you already know like he's the devil because of like the opening scene where like the old ferryman gets killed or disappears. Yeah. You know there's something like tense and something like there's something going on, and I felt like that like the ferry ride that she like took the devil on into like the party with the dancing was some of like the tensest stuff of the year. And I really enjoyed that. I just my complaint about this movie is I just wish there was like more like meat to like either the love story or like a precursor to like that ferry ride she took. And maybe if it just like there was a little bit more of subversiveness with like the ending. Like it kind of does fall into the cliches of the time, but it also finds a way to stand out by like really like it has the best visual storytelling, I think, of any movie this year. But yeah, I enjoyed this a lot. I think a lot of people would enjoy this if they saw it, and I hope this like can find a way to get like a decent transfer. So I would definitely like to see that. I'll give Ferryman Maria a 7 out of 10.
JP, I can't believe you didn't watch this one, man.
It was on my list.
Tony didn't watch it.
Yeah, I'm the one who didn't watch it.
Oh, I mean Tony. Fuck. Did I say GP? Fuck.
I don't know how it slipped past me.
Sorry.
It wasn't. I'll tell you how it wasn't on the Letterboxd list. It was on IMDb list.
Well, that explains it.
Yeah.
Yeah. At first I was like I couldn't find it with like a decent like subtitle or whatever, and then all of a sudden it just like came up on YouTube. I was like, okay.
Yeah, I watched on YouTube.
So it's all good, but
that's where I watched it as well.
All right, so number 2 for myself is Ferryman Maria.
Yeah, I got your number 2.
Ooh, I got your number 2 right.
Yeah.
Wow, how in the fuck did you guys? I thought for sure.
I only know about this movie because I saw you logged it.
Okay, so
I just pictured when you said you had a gem. I was like, I bet it's that movie.
That's what I thought too. Was like, dude, he's on the same wavelength as me with Ferryman.
I really, really like this movie, and you guys know me with love stories, man. I hate love stories, but to me, it didn't really feel like that, man. It was more about like the coming of death and stuff, and like I'm watching this movie going, I couldn't help but just the parallels to the Seventh Seal.
Yep.
It was blowing my fucking mind. I was like, oh my God, this is, and it was cool because the beginning, like the setup to this movie is like this drifter kind of walks into this small village, and it's like, I love Westerns, right? You guys know me. I love spaghetti Westerns. I love American Westerns. And like the whole setup to this just felt like a Western to me. Like she strolls into the town, right? Like every fucking Western has that story, that narrative, right? Like Django, it's fucking Django. But then it turns into this Bergmar film. Like, I'm like, well, I shouldn't say turns into that. This is preceding.
Yeah, it's like he's the one who ripped this of anything.
I know. And it's crazy to watch this. I love the whole idea of like death coming for you. And, you know, it was really, this movie captivated me. I was totally taken back by this. I wasn't even going to watch it. I swear to God, I was not going to watch this movie because I was like, it seems like it might have a love. I was kind of put off by it. And I was like, oh, I don't know. And plus it was like 85 minutes. I'm like, oh my God, that's the longest movie in the history of movies ever made.
An eternity after you've watched some of these 60-minute movies that like felt like 105 or something.
Everything was 69 minutes to 71 minutes or something like that. And all of a sudden it's like 85. I'm like, I don't know if I can do this, bros. Don't know if I can do it. But I loved it. I really, really enjoyed this movie. I was totally taken back. It was a fucking breath of fresh air, man. Oh, it was awesome. Yep. It was really, really good. And this is the type of movie that I feel like Criterion needs to give love to.
Yeah, more
people need to see this movie because it is, again, a precursor to like the Seventh Seal. Like it's very similar to it. And, you know, it has those moments. And I feel like this is a gem. This is a hidden gem. Like I've never heard anyone talk about this movie, and we all, besides Tony, fucked up on this one. I think he missed the fucking one of the best movies of the year. But this is one of those movies that just needs some love. It really needs some damn love. I think a lot of people enjoy this shit, man. If you enjoy this type of stuff, and I got nothing else to say on it. Like, I mean, we talked about it, but it's a beautiful film to me, man. Like it's shot well. The setting of it's really cool. I just love the fact that this girl, and I know that comes off being a little bit sexist or whatever, but like takes this job. It's such a physical fucking job. I couldn't even imagine doing that myself. I would fail at that. I don't know if I could pull a rope all fucking day and just, you know, manage to like, you know, could you imagine doing that shit for 8 hours a day?
That scene where she's pulling the rope with like death on board when they're going to like the party is like that.
Yeah, dude, it's fucking
such a good job.
It's haunting.
Like, yeah,
it's so haunting. But I love the idea of death stalking, because if there's one thing in life that we can't beat is death, right? The whole idea is just haunting because it's always there. And like, even though there's a love story in this, it kind of makes sense because, you got a wounded soldier.
It's not overbearing. I just
he's supposed to be dying.
Meat there, you know what I mean?
Right. And like he's supposed to be dying. Death is coming for him. I like the whole thing, man. She's trying to protect. It just
I even like make that connection. Wow.
Yeah, like right. Like I really like, the whole thing just worked for me, man. It was good.
Yeah, it was definitely, it made me glad like that I think there's 6 movies this year that like I'm glad I watched.
Right. So I give this one 8 out of 10.
Whoa, 8. Yeah, damn, we got 8.
Fucking 8.
Jumped up to an 8. I really think this is actually legit a great movie. It's a good movie. I mean, it's not perfect, but you need to check it out.
All right. So my number 2 is a movie that none of you fucks ended up watching. It is the Czechoslovakian film.
I knew it.
Second sequel of the show. Because apparently it is billed as a sequel to the 1920 film, The Golem, how he came into the
actually
world.
Is considered a sequel. Okay, that's why it has that subtitle on it, right?
So this is The Golem from 1936. It was very hard to find. I will admit that.
How did you watch it? Because like I literally looked for weeks. I couldn't find it anywhere.
I found it somewhere. Somewhere
crazy.
online. Some website.
I didn't even know about this movie. Honestly, like all I did, like to make sure I caught everything, is I just looked at all your letterboxes and any movie you guys watched, I watched.
I would give a tip to people. So the real best way to look for movies is not through Letterboxd, even though we love Letterboxd. It is through IMDb. Yeah. Because there's often stuff on IMDb that is not listed on Letterboxd as horror, or it seems more consistent. But that it was listed in the IMDb horror section.
IMDb always gives me the confidence to cheat on lists, because anytime it's a questionable movie, like IMDb is like, yeah, it's horror.
when we first got this year on the randomizer, my initial list that I compiled, The Golem was like second or third on my list that I had written down, and I never got to see it. Mm-hmm. Isn't that fucked?
Yeah, it's hard to see.
Yeah,
I tried looking out for it too, but I couldn't find it.
No, I found it. It was easy to find. I just couldn't find it with subtitles.
Mm-hmm.
Like and there's no dub. There's no dub for it. So
this movie is actually like one of the longer ones. It's 95 minutes. But it's set in Prague. And basically there's this Roman emperor who is oppressing the Jews in the ghettos. And they're like kind of pissed, that during a food riot, they begin to essentially, I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with like the Golem mythology. There's actually a handful of these movies.
A little bit, yeah.
These Golem movies, but it's like a Jewish.
I have the silent film.
Legend. Yeah, I have it on Kino as well.
Yeah, I've got the old DVD.
I've actually never seen it though, but I know what it is. But anyway, long story short, they essentially resurrect the Golem, and it's just this very tall. It doesn't. I actually think the 1921 looks a lot cooler, but the one thing they do a good job with is the size. It's very like towering, but a lot of this movie is like that. Like the first hour and like 15 minutes is like a lot of dialogue and just like political stuff and shit like that, which was pretty cool for the time because it's obviously. Commenting on like the oppression of Jews and stuff like that. But it really gets going at the end of the movie when the Golem is actually like on the loose and he's just fucking tearing down, like he's like breaking out of jails and stuff and like knocking entire stone walls down and shit like that. And then there's like these lions that were also like kind of guarding the Golem essentially, and those get let out and they're like attacking people and shit. And it's just like really it's like it has the most like rampage in the entire year. Like he's just like tearing shit up, you know what I mean, killing people and stuff. But it was, you know, basically this golem was like at a rabbi's place, and then they essentially steal it, and the Roman emperor is essentially like threatening to hang anybody who was like involved. But they eventually get the golem freed, and it goes and basically liberates the Jews, you know what I mean, from the oppression of this Roman emperor. But yeah, I thought it was pretty cool. The rampage aspect was really neat because they really do a lot of destruction. And like, even like the lions, like they were real lions, you know, like jumping on people and stuff, which is creepy. But, yeah, so, I gave this one a 7 out of 10.
Yeah. By the way, I'm out on you. I actually picked that as your number one.
Did you really?
Yep.
Wow, the foresight.
I changed my pick when I told JP. I don't even think you guys were on Zoom yet. He reacted when I said the golem. He's like, "Oh," the way he reacted, I was like, "Oh, that's gonna be his number one."
Okay, yeah, because I didn't say that I didn't watch it.
Yeah, and like the way he reacted, I was like, "Oh," because I had another film as his number one. And I just reversed him.
Yeah, so I'm live on both your number ones, and I think my number two for Tony is probably his number one.
Sometimes body language sells the story, man. But I was close. But again, I was, you know, close only counts in horseshoes and hand grenades, and I'm fucking horrible at this. I can never get anyone's picks.
All right. Well, I got your number two right, but I think JP said he did too.
Yeah, I got his number two right. Yep.
Shit, I don't even think I have anyone's.
I knew you were gonna like this movie. I was like, "There's no way Moodz doesn't like this movie."
All right.
So Tony,
number two.
Okay, so I figured after I watched this movie, this would probably be the one I'd get the most shit for having so high on my list. And how funny is it that my number two is in a gaggle of number twos that are all full of like fancy art house horror films? I picked The Rogue's Tavern as my number two.
What the fuck? You gotta be fucking kidding me.
I had the Walking. Okay, so I'm probably right that I had Walking Dead. The Walking Dead.
I had Sweeney Todd for his number two.
And the
All right.
Dead.
Why okay, I gotta hear this, man. Crazy.
I had so much fun with this movie. Like, for me personally, like, I love single location, like, whodunit thrillers. And, like, this movie, like, really did that for me. Like, phone lines were cut, the powers were turning on and off. Like, the people are literally locked. Trapped in this place. What's that? The doors are locked. Yeah, like, all this stupid shit. Yeah. Like, I loved the gimmick of a killer just sneaking around with, like, a wolf's head puppet, like, on its hand with, like, poisonous teeth, who just, like, goozles somebody by, like, the throat and just kills them that way. It's, like, the goofiest thing ever. But I really like the cast, too. Like, I like the lead detective, who was also the star in the movie Freaks, and his little sidekick, who are just there to get married. Like, literally the only reason they're there is because they're trying to elope and they're waiting for the justice of the peace to arrive. And then they just, like, get caught up in this crazy, like, whodunit conspiracy. But yeah, I like the cast. I like the people that ran the tavern. Like, I like the guy who was in the wheelchair, his neurotic, like, woman maid wife. And then, like, the simple Jack, like, servant man who's just like, "Oh yes, I'll go get your bags. Yeah, oh sorry." Like, that fucking guy. Like, we haven't talked about him yet. Like, that guy was probably my favorite character in, like, any movie we watched this year. Just because I was just having so much fun watching him. But yeah, like, people were dying at a decent pace. Like, the story was just rolling around. And then, like, the reveal of the killer was so fucking stupid and ridiculous.
Oh,
and
I agree.
I just laughed my ass off. But the person who is the killer, like, really turn it up. Like, after they, like, reveal that they're the killer, they just went full blown fucking, like, 10 out of 10. I'm crazy now.
That laughing, like, though.
The laughing was so fucking hilarious.
It was literally making me laugh. I was like, this is hysterical. I was like, I think that made my list just because of the laughing.
So yeah, for me, like this movie was honestly probably just the most entertained I was throughout this entire like 36 journey. And I gave it 7 out of 10 just based on that.
Wow.
So Rogue's Tagger mates every list.
I thought for sure Tony would have some higher ratings than 7. Shit, man.
We got Rogue's Tavern's made every list. Man Who Changes His Mind has made every list.
I'm the only one with an 8 right now. Crazy.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right.
Tyler.
All right. So number 1. I'm sure it's not much of a suspense at this time. My number 1 is The Face in the Fog.
Wait, are you serious?
Okay. No, no, my number 1's The Devil Doll.
Yeah.
My number 1 is The Devil Doll. Yeah, The Devil Doll's awesome. I thought The Devil Doll just hit every mark like as high as it could, like compared to like anything else. I thought it was the best directed film. I thought it was the best paced film. Okay, maybe like it wasn't the best shot film, but I thought it was done really well, and I thought it was a lot of fun. I thought it had the best effects. Although the ending did kind of end with that, like, you know, like poppy, like good, like everybody goes home happy ending. I thought this one was a lot more complex, as we'd already talked about, and at least like it's more complicated than the rest than just like a straightforward happy ending where like we got to have a good discussion about it. But yeah, I had a ton of fun with this movie. I thought like that dude like acting as the old lady was like so good.
Oh yeah, I totally forgot about that.
He fucking killed it.
I loved him just acting like this old lady. I loved like how like once he got his revenge and cleared his day, the lady's like, we gotta keep going. He was like, nope.
I mean, how many movies from this time period had somebody playing like a woman like that?
Dude, he killed it too. Like even like the way he looked, like he just like
no, dude. At first, it looked like a totally different actor.
Yeah, like
yeah, I totally thought it was a woman.
I thought
it was crazy how much he's. Oh, it was so good.
Like Todd Brown, like the more Todd Browning movies I see, like I'm more impressed by him. Like Todd Browning is the fucking man.
Dude, he did Freaks and The Devil Doll within years apart, and they're both fantastic.
He has this other movie too. I watched earlier this year. I forgot what it's called. That's like also fantastic. I think it's the
I mean, he also did Dracula too, right?
So. Yeah, well, he made this other movie, The Unknown. That's kind of like it swims in the same waters as Freaks, and I like.
Is it on that Browning Criterion box set that just came out?
Yep. It's the middle movie between Freaks. The other one's The Mystic. I
just picked that up, and I haven't actually, checked out the films yet. I mean, I've obviously seen Freaks lots of times, but
yeah, same thing. I haven't. The only one I've watched is The Unknown, but I've seen Freaks like a couple.
Yeah,
times.
I've seen Freaks tons of times. I love that movie.
But yeah, Todd Browning, like I've definitely gained more respect for like his contributions to. Like the early beginnings of horror. I thought like he hit the camp in this movie so well, which isn't something I've really seen presently in his other movies. So like it was really cool to see the other side of him. Mm-hmm. I'm definitely gonna scoop this on the next Warner Archive sale, whatever that is. Wherever.
Yeah, I paid through the ass to see this. I'm like, I just had a feeling this was gonna be like a decent one. And I'm like, Warner Archive, they do good transfers.
Maybe I'm just biased, but man, like Tom Browning is just someone who I respect. But I also really respect Michael Curtiz. I've seen multiple movies from Michael Curtiz. I like in Casablanca, like what I consider one of the greatest movies of all time. So it's not all that. Mm-hmm. And he also like he did a lot of good early horror movies as well. That they're all on Warner Archive that I should have picked up. But anyways, yeah, I like this movie a lot. I definitely watch this again. This movie is just so much fun. It was such a bright spot in this year, being able to hit humor and like do all these other things well, and like we said, this movie definitely gets some help because it has like a great transfer, which is just gonna set it apart from some of these movies that like are hard to hear and see in the first place. But this is definitely one you don't want to miss from the year. I don't think many horror fans like want to at least have a good time with this movie. This is a really cool one, like we were saying earlier, like make a great double feature with The Incredible Shrinking Man. The effects are out of the world for this time, like we'd already discussed.
Oh, it's easily the best effects movie of the year. There's no fucking doubt.
Yeah,
but, I mean, this is good in general, though. Like,
yeah, this movie's a lot of fun. I was gonna give it a 7.5, but we just like had such a good conversation about this movie. earlier, and like I will definitely just like watch this again. I'm eager to do it, so I'll go up to an 8.
Yeah, 10. All right. So, no surprise, my number 1 is Todd Browning's The Devil Doll.
All right, so I got you.
I was fucking blown away.
I got
this,
your
man.
1 and 2, bro.
Really?
So
crazy. Man, I was blown away watching this film, man. Like performance wise, effects wise, the narrative was quirky and fun. It had good lighthearted, dialogue and stuff. And honestly, man, some of the aspects of like when people would be like, man, these dolls look really real. And I'm like, I just kept fucking laughing. I'm like, fuck, dude, it's so funny to me. There was one funny thing about the film that was like the one, I guess she was the blonde assistant that got shrunk down, and like her brain didn't work properly as a full grown person, but when they shrunk her down, like she worked fine. That whole premise just cracked me up. I was like, oh shit, that's fucking hilarious, man. But yeah, this is
Didn't they call her like inbreded?
Yeah, I think so. I think they do refer to her as inbred. And that's why her brain didn't work properly. Yeah, totally. Yeah, but this movie, man, it is fun as hell. My biggest issue with the film is definitely the end. I feel like it should not go that way, in my opinion, but it is what it is. We've talked extensively about the film. We've probably kind of ruined the end of the film, but I do highly recommend this. People need to check this shit out. It's kind of funny. We did a show recently called Hidden Gems, and I actually had a film on my list called The Devil Doll.
I was wondering if that was like a remake of this.
Weird. And if I was to do another one, I would probably put this one on there too, man. Another film called The Devil Doll, which is just a sleeper film. I have never heard anybody talk about this movie. Not once. Never once.
Either.
Really?
Oof.
JP, you've heard people talk about this one?
Yep.
Wow, man, I don't think I've ever heard someone mention.
I listened to this podcast once about killer doll movies, and this one got brought up, even though it's technically not a killer doll thing, but they went through like the history of killer doll movies.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. But yeah, I was really happy with the top 2 of this list as far as like Hidden Gems goes.
Yeah, like I said, man, I don't know if I was on air when I said, but my top 2, I was like, man, they were gems to me, man.
Yep.
Like I just wasn't expecting this at all after what I'd watched.
These 2 films to me like seem like in a different league as the rest of the other movies.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So we had the same number 1 and 2s. Crazy.
Yep.
Losers.
Really interesting.
All right, my number 1, without further ado. What is
The Devil Doll?
Correct. I'm not going to continue going into it. I
got both of your number 1s.
Tyler, I think, wins because I can't win on Tony, and
it's not even a question with me. I'm always wrong on everybody.
I said Devil Doll all around.
I picked JP The Devil Doll number 2.
Yeah,
so I actually technically had him reversed. I had the Golem as number 1 and the Devil Doll number 2. Shit.
And I
was pretty much fucked on everything.
I had Dracula as JP's 2, and I had Walking Dead as Tony's 2.
So I give Devil Doll I don't like it as much as you guys, but I gave it a 7 out of 10.
Shit, man.
What'd you give it, Moodz?
I was at an 8.
Okay.
Yep. So this list went from, I got 2 8s, a 7, 6, 1 6.5, 2 6s, and the rest are 5s.
You know what's weird about this list is I started off higher than all of you guys, I think.
And then ended lower.
Ended lower than all
Weird. Yeah.
That is kind of fucked up.
I was going to give Devil Doll 7.5, but I just had a change of heart. I just had so much fun talking about it.
I mean, in comparison to the year, it's definitely solid.
Tyler, what did you give The Man Who Changed His Mind?
6.
Okay.
All right, Tony, what's your number 1?
All right, well, my number 1 is not Devil Doll.
Nope.
My number 1 is actually The Walking Dead.
I knew it. I got it. Actually, I actually got it right.
by Michael.
I'm surprised
Curtiz.
you didn't like Sweeney Todd.
I don't know. Like the thing about Sweeney Todd is just like, I think I have an issue with Todd Slaughter. Like I just the man himself. Like I watched
his name's Todd Slaughter.
That's an awesome name.
I watched fucking like the Stephen Hawking shit and like the beginning crap. I'm like, who is
I keep wanting to say
guy?
Stephen
Like,
Hawking's.
right. Like, who the fuck does this guy think he is? Like, he just seems like some pompous fucking theater bitch. I don't know. Like, I feel like I almost just hate watched like Sweeney Todd and Stephen Hawking.
Weird. I actually really enjoyed watching those, man. Like just for his performance.
Yeah, me
really
too.
good,
So what was your number one?
The Walking Dead's my number one.
So I had picked that as your number 2 and the Devil Doll is number 1, but
that's exactly what I did.
But turned out it was number 3 and number 1. Wow, crazy.
Like this movie honestly kind of blew me away. Like I really loved Boris Karloff's performance in this. Like it's probably like one of the best I've seen of him, period. Like besides like maybe Targets, like it's way up there. It's like a guy who just got out of prison and who just got wrongfully like put back in prison just for killing a guy. It's like you really feel for the poor bastard. But even besides him, like I really enjoyed like all the characters in this movie. I really felt that they all had pretty developed characters. They all had something at stake besides what was going on like during the normal plot. Like I liked the young doctor couple because they witnessed the murder happening. They didn't say it. And then by the time they did, it was too late and he had already been executed for the crime. So they have this little mini subplot going on about their little guilt trip happening. And then you have all these other guys who set him up who are also going through this. But then you have this old doctor who's the one who like originally brought him back. Like his main like weird little motive behind this kind of reminded me of the movie Martyrs, because what interested him the most in this is what the boundary between life and death, like knowing what that is. And I thought that was really interesting. Mm-hmm. I'm like, I didn't know movies really talked about that type of shit back then. So like taking that in mind, like I really love the ending in this movie. Like for me, it was easily the best ending of anything I watched this year, just because it leaves on such a nice little cliff note like that. But besides that, like the body count, I thought this movie had the best deaths out of anything this year. Like I loved the guy getting hit by the train. I thought that was such a well edited scene. And then like the guy falling out of the window, you had a nice car crash plus an explosion. I don't know, like this movie just really did it for me. So yeah, like I give it an 8 out of 10.
Cool. So that's it, right? That's 1936 in a nutshell.
That is definitely a wrap on that, man. So who ended up winning?
I believe Tyler won. So Tyler, what do you want to add or remove from the
I'm going to do
potential?
an addition. Which one do I like better?
1960.
That's one of the choices.
60 is insanely fucking.
I'm gonna do 60 because I already just watched all these 64 movies that I love.
Yeah, hidden gems, right?
Yeah, so we'll do 1960. Double up.
We need some 50s up in this bitch. It's the only decade we haven't touched.
I'm actually really hoping. I'm really fucking hoping that 1955 comes up.
1955 would be the banger.
Oh, I would have doubled up on 55. 55 is a good year.
It. Yeah, well, you know what? Let's do that. Let's double up on 55.
Yeah, because we know 60 is strong, but 55 double up. 55 is a good year.
Yeah, there's more uncharted territory.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but before we do that, we do have a contest that went on that I need to pull a winner for.
Oh shit! Yeah, right.
I meant to do it in the intro, but I kind of forgot. So anybody who reviewed one of the films we recommended in our Hidden Gem show got a entry per film. And I believe that we said we'd given an extra 5 to anybody who did all 15. So Sam ended up with 20 entries. So anyway, he's looking pretty good right now. As that right now. And it is the number 1, 2, and 3 was all Sam. So So Sam wins something. Yeah. So I'll send Sam something. Not sure what it is yet, but you'll get something. And then I believe Moodz said he was going to send somebody something too.
Yeah. What's his name from Australia?
Caleb. Yeah, I think he just wins because he was the only foreign person who entered.
I commented on his video and he's like, "Yeah, I had a fun time trashing fucking Tyler's pretentious picks," and I was like, "Oh shit, that's funny."
He did dunk on me, but
shit hard. He diarrheaed on you.
I had like overwhelmingly from anyone else. There was overwhelmingly positive feedback about like all the movies I picked.
Well, to be honest,
shut the fuck up.
To be honest,
dude, look on the thread of that movie. A lot of people ask Sam because Sam talked to me too.
I feel like JP got the most love. And like I figured that was going to happen. Nobody really even commented.
Well, it's because I really went and spaced out my picks. You know what I mean? So it's easy to mine a little bit.
I never really even thought of it when I was doing it, but
I definitely took the selfish route where I was like, I'm going to talk about these movies that I fucking love that nobody talks about.
Yeah, it was actually really tough to pick something from the 80s because everybody knows the 80s.
Everybody knows the 80s.
Next time we do it, I'm gonna put like real restrictions on myself, like under 10K views on Letterboxd, and I'm gonna try to space out the decades.
All right. Anyway, let's go ahead and pick our next retro year. As you guys know, I said I would send someone to any of my movies except Hour of the Wolf. So does somebody else want something? The next person up would have been number 4, Don. The hell's his name? Don. Juggernaut.
Okay, so Don Juggernaut. Somehow message us on Facebook or YouTube or something and tell me what movie you want. Hour of the Wolf is excluded because I'm not sending you a $300 set, and I will send you any of my 4 other movies.
Good job. Okay, so I think that was so as you guys know, our regular retro year shows, we pretty much will be we keep those ones to the 70s, 80s, and 90s and 2000s. Right now we're currently in the midst of 1975, and we will continue doing those regularly, usually 1 or 2 a year, and then of course the modern current year we do a top 10 list for, but lately we've thrown in this retro one, which I assume we'll probably do maybe this is a good season finale type one, and then we do the other one when we come back because it kind of works out good that way. But anyway, these are films from the 30s, 40s, 50s, and most of the 60s. We have excluded films from the 30s and 40s just so we don't end up getting 1935 next.
You watch a visual array, then it's eligible.
Yeah, right.
By that time, it'll be back to 36.
It'll be back 36.
So we have the 50s and most of the 60s in here. Tyler doubled up on 1955, was it?
Yeah, 55.
Yes. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and hit the randomizer. And we ended up with, this is actually the very first time that we've ever had a 9.
Oh, wow. 59?
So we've never had a 9 before. This is 1959.
Nice.
All right.
Okay,
we got House on Haunted Hill.
Bucket of Blood.
The Ghost
Mummy,
of
the Hammer
Yatasuya. Seen that Return
the
of the
Tingler.
Fly.
How do you guys pull that up so fucking fast, man? Damn.
I already have the
Bat,
up.
The Wasp Woman, Return of the Fly, The Killer Shrews, Attack of the Giant Leeches, First Man in Space, The Man Who Could Cheat Death, Kaltiki, Mario Bava, The Giant Gila Monster, The Alligator People, The Angry Red Planet. A lot of Scream Factory releases out of these.
Tons of these.
Really?
Yeah.
Teenager from Outer Space, Beast from the Haunted Cave, Horror from the Black Museum, Night Ghouls, Curse of the Undead, the Black Pit of Dr. M, The Manster, The Strangler of Mommy, So
dude, there's a lot of fun movies
Bombay.
here.
Oh, 4D Man, Invisible Invaders, Gigantus, The Fire Monster, Jack the Ripper, Terror is Man, The Monster of Pieris Blancas.
Oh, the Black Pit of Dr. M's on here? Oh, nice.
Teenage Zombie, The Head.
That's a good movie.
The Four Skulls of Jonathan Drake.
That's a good movie.
Invasion
That's
of
a
the
really
Animal
good
People,
movie.
Uncle Was a Vampire, The Man and His Monster, The Living Coffin, and then we start getting to some Asian ones. The Lady Vampire, The Headless Ghost, Yatsuya, Ghost Story, Woman from the Sea. Honestly, much more selection than 1936.
Yeah,
I Was a Teenage Vampire needs a fucking better release. It needs a good release.
What does?
I Was a Teenage Vampire.
I don't think I've ever seen that. Actually, to be honest, I've only seen like 4 movies from this year.
Oh, fuck, I've seen...
But I own a lot of these. This will actually help me dig into some of my like The Wasp Woman and Alligator People, Angry Red Planet. I have screen factories of those.
That one needs a better release too, man. Angry Red Planet, man, is a great film. Alligator People's fun.
I've only...
Return of the Flies.
I just picked up The Hounds of Baskerville.
I've only seen 4 of these.
The Ed Wood film, Night of the Ghouls. That's a piece of shit. That's awesome. Film. It's fun.
I actually like Return of the Fly pretty good.
Beast of the Haunted Cave is fun. Oh, but like, dude, Terrorism Man, I love that movie. The Black Pit of Dr. M, I love that movie too. What was the other one that was mentioned here? It's another one of those. The Living Coffin's another really good one too. I've reviewed that one before.
Oh, there's some Japanese shit.
Mexican film.
I've seen, oddly enough, I own a Blu-ray of The Monster of Pieris Blancas from Olive. I've seen that one. Yeah, definitely a lot of like sci-fi horror this year, which is cool.
Why does the Bullwinkle show up on here? Like it's number 5 and it's like the Bullwinkle show.
I only own like 2 of these movies.
I mean, everyone's seen The Tingler and the Bucket of Blood. Come on.
I actually own a good bit of these.
The Wasp. I reviewed that a couple years ago.
I own Return of the Fly and I own House on Haunted Hill.
Killer Shrews is fun. I've reviewed The Bat twice. I have both of those film detective releases.
The Bat, The Wasp Woman, Return of the Fly, The Man Who Could Cheat Death. I think I own Alligator People. I own.
These are Scream Factories. I know
a lot of them. There's actually a good like 5 or 6 Scream Factories.
More than
At the time they were putting these out, I wasn't really interested in them, but like
a lot of them are out of print now.
Like a lot of these though, like I would have paid like I would buy these if they were like, like $9.99 Kino titles.
Yeah, right. Well, hopefully it would be nice if Kino could pick up a lot of these.
I'll buy
The Four Skulls of Jonathan Drake is a good movie, man. That's another.
Yeah, I have that Scream Factory.
Yeah, that's another good one.
Actually, a lot of these were on Hamilton back in the day for like $10, $7.
Yeah.
Which was where I got most of them. But yeah, that is the next one, which will probably be a while from now, but honestly, not a ton of prep. Like,
not a giant
definitely more than 36, but these are easy watches.
Yeah, these are fun watches. Cool, man. All right. So I guess we're done.
Yeah, that's it for the season. I mean, we might do something in the summer, not sure yet. But we'll definitely be back in the fall for 1975.
Yep, that's the next show. Well, I mean, in theory, but I think this summer, I think we might be able to pull some shit out of our ass and maybe do a couple shows. Yeah,
and don't forget we still have the Sin Bin out there as well.
New show
be posting all summer.
Yeah, episode 5 will be dropping shortly. We're recording it next week, so be on the lookout for that.
This week.
Yeah, I mean, you know what I mean. This week. Yeah.
Yeah, but anyway, that's pretty much it.
That's it, man. That's a wrap for season 10. Let's go
11, 10. I don't know.
11, 10, whatever it is. And we'll be back sooner than later. check you guys later. Tony, thanks for stopping in.
Yeah, we'll definitely have you on another regular show. We have some great
better be before the
shows.
75 show then, right?
Well, if we do a show before then.
Yeah.
I mean,
maybe we can do a summer show he could be on.
Yeah, if we do a
5
summer
questions
show,
during 75.
I want to put together a fucking Sharknado show for the middle of the summer.
I want to do Piranha. Fuck Sharknado.
I would rather do Piranha than Sharknado.
I'm fine with doing Sharknado, but I would rather do Piranha.
Okay, fine. I'm cool with Piranha. I gotta track down that '90s fucking TV movie then.
Right? Yeah.
I'm like interested. What is there for Piranha? So we got
there's 5 movies.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's 5. Jesus.
Yeah.
So there's
Piranha,
like 1, 2, the remake. Oh yeah, then
there's
the
remake
remake again, and then Double D.
Yeah.
Holy shit, there is 5.
Yeah, there's that weird '90s one I've actually never seen. That's the only one I've ever seen before.
I own 2 of these on Blu-ray.
But also, like next season, our Italian month is going to be huge this year. It's the 10-year anniversary of Italian Horror Month. So,
we got something really cool cooking.
Yeah, we're going to do different stuff than we did than we've been doing to sort of celebrate. Also, this October, I kind of want to do some maybe some franchises or something like that. Kind of make a bigger deal out of things. I would like to revisit the Phantasm franchise at some point, maybe October. I don't know, but we got a ton of ideas planned. Of course, we'll get back to Tombs of the Blind Dead. Maybe we'll do that in October. Kind of fits the quality of October. But yeah, so we'll see you guys next time, right?
That's right, man. Yep. We're out of here.
Peace.
Deuces.
That's all, folks.